Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Transatlantic Call-In Show, the show where you can call in and ask us questions about trans rights, trans people, stuff going on in this country and around the world related to trans people. I am Dr. Ben in my new mandated uniform as per the executive office. So this showed up in the mail and it was like, you have to wear this or you revoke your doctorship. So I had to do it. But with me, of course, is Luxander, and we are excited to be here today. What's up?
Yeah. I just realized that we kind of match a little bit. Like, I think that yours is supposed to be like reddish or something, but it's like I'm
Yeah.
wearing orange, like a dark orange, and so we've just accidentally matched today. So that's fun. Yeah, things are going good. I'm doing pretty okay. Nothing too crazy. I'm trying desperately to not be on social media. My thing is this week that I've joined a couple of local Facebook groups where there's lots of conservatives. So I live in Oregon. It's a purple state. Part of why I moved here was to try to keep it from going any further conservative. Because I could have moved to Washington, but that's not really going to help anything. So it's I'm trying to instill some class consciousness into people and do some of the educational trans stuff and kind of like taking the moral high ground on a lot of things because they're rude. Conservatives, they're just rude. They're just assholes. You're explaining something to them and then they call you a chucklehead or something. And I'm like, oh, I thought that we were having a conversation, but you just want to be rude. I really hope that you are not one of the conservatives that gets on their high horse about how rude and condescending the left is. So yeah, that's kind of been the thing that I've gotten sucked into this week, and it's a mistake, and I shouldn't be doing it, but that's what I'm stuck doing.
But yeah, here we are. We're doing it.
Yep.
And yes, you can get your calls in. This is a live call-in show. The number is at the bottom of the screen here, 720-619-2288. If you'd like to give us a call, especially if you want to disagree with us or you think we're going to disagree with you on something, we will probably prioritize your call. We have lines specifically available for that purpose. So if you want to tell us that trans people don't belong in sports, if you think trans people don't belong in the military, if you think that driver's licenses should be sex assigned at birth only, anything like that, give us a call. And we do have some lines for some more ally calls, but those are limited. So if you want to get one of those are, I believe, already full right now. But if you want to get on for that, wait until another call ends so that you can take that spot. But use the phone number below if you want to call from really anywhere. You can use the web link if you're from outside of the continental Americas, so please be responsible with that. You will get booted if you do not follow the rules on that. So, with all of that being said, let's get into the poll from last week. So
Oh
last
yeah,
week
speaking of
we
the
asked
staying off
you,
social media.
have you been avoiding consuming news more or less in the past 6 months than in the months prior? 40% of you said more, 27% said less, and 33% said about the same. Yeah, it sounds like you've been taking some time off from social media. Do you want to expand on all of that?
Yeah, I mean, I I just don't think it's particularly productive. If something important happens, Jimmy will text me, or we do the polls every week. And so I'll go check what's the previous week of anti trans news that we could potentially talk about in the poll. I have, I've basically deleted all social media off my phone. I don't have Reddit. I don't have any of those things on my phone. And I have an RSS feed actually set up now. So I did subscribe to a couple specific news channels. Like I've got NPR, I've got the Oregonian, Aaron in the Morning, and Pink News kind of are the main newsy things. And then also, an RSS feed gives you an opportunity to do what social media does, which is intermixing positive posts and like cute things or craft related things. So kind of like that's my main way that I'm consuming the news. And then there's like a finite endpoint, which I think is really useful because you're like, okay, I'm gonna clear through all of this, and then when it's done, and I can leave and go do something else. Whereas, I think Tumblr kind of started it with the endless scroll of just new content, and if the content of the people that you followed has run out, then it'll just serve you up some other random stuff. So yeah, I think it's been a benefit, even though it's like my job is to talk about the news and everything. I'm just like only in the limited amounts that it's actually required.
Yeah, definitely. I've definitely dialed back a lot ever since getting out of the military because
Mm.
I mean, yeah, all of it is so terrible, and I only have the power to control so much of it. So, um, I mean, I'm staying up on important things kind of as I see them. Like the super big things are gonna get out. Like you're gonna hear about that stuff. And I mean, I do have like Erin in the Morn, her content I will stumble across, and I am subscribed to her, so I am getting like some of that, but I do choose when I engage with it. And I strongly recommend that for a lot of people, especially if we have a tendency to kind of doom a spiral, as
Hmm.
many of us do. It's important to kind of take things in little pieces, see, what do we need to deal with right now, and what can we kind of table for a later thing. It's not saying stop like advocating. It's not saying to stop fighting this, but like be reasonable about how much you can reasonably handle at one time.
Yeah. And if it's stuff that you can actually control, like it makes sense for me to follow the Oregonian, which does sometimes touch on national news, but they talk about local news. So then I also follow a bunch of like renewable energy stuff because I'm getting interested in like pursuing electrical engineering. So it's, there's a law in Oregon about allowing people to put solar panels on their balcony, and then there's just like a normal plug and it'll just plug into your regular outlet, and then that'll reduce your energy costs and reduce the total load on the whole utility. And in some places it's becoming legalized. It's been like either illegal explicitly, or just the utility or the HOA or the landlords don't allow it. So there is movement on that. That's something I can actually control, is by contacting my local representatives and saying, "Hey, I support this. Here's why. Here's why you should support it. We want more energy independence and more jobs and everything. So, investing in renewable energy is good." Therefore, like I'm not spiraling about something that I was like, "Oh, Trump is killing the wind energy off the coast." Like, okay, well, there's nothing I can do about that. So thank you for telling me, but I don't need to have that in my brain right now. I'm like a big champion for, focusing on the things that you have control over as a means of avoiding the anxiety spiral. Just what can you actually do? Maybe you need to take a break and go do your dishes, and then your kitchen will be clean. And then you can feel a little bit better mentally, and you accomplished something, and you're no longer spiraling. So that's what I'm trying to do.
Oh yeah, and something else with that, there are there are some pages, primarily like on Facebook and similar websites, where they're recycling old trans news, like stuff
Mm,
that did not come out yesterday, that came out in like September, October, or
yeah.
even like May 2025, because they want to get clicks from it. So they'll frame it as this is happening right now. Like, no, this is old news. This is
Yep.
something that either already passed or already like was shut down. So it's not worth going over that again. And it might be worth, blocking some pages that keep doing that because, it's not helpful for anyone except for their news media
They
to
make
frame it
money
like that.
off of the
Yeah.
engagement on those posts. So it's especially like conservative pages posting trans news. You get all this outrage in the comments. Oh, these people are mentally ill. Oh, they should stay away from children. And somebody is making money. Somebody is profiting off of that outrage. So keep that in mind as well when you're thinking about how you're going to engage with those topics, that you're not accidentally enriching somebody who is profiting off of your stress and your anxiety and your oppression.
Yeah. And with that, let's read this week's poll, and then you all can vote on it. So, should trans men with a gender marker change be automatically registered for the draft? I definitely want to hear everyone's opinions on this. So you can vote yes or no, and then of course vote throughout the week as well, so you can see uh, the final response next week.
And we will talk about
But
it after we take a couple calls.
yep. But we do. It looks like we have a call that wants to disagree with us on something. So let's
Ooh.
jump into that one first. Let's talk with Dom. Pronouns are he, him from Tennessee. Dom, you are live on the line with Dr. Ben and Lux. What would you like to talk about?
Good to talk to you. Thanks for having me. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Okay, there's a bit of a delay. Okay. Basically, first off, I've been watching y'all on YouTube and stuff, so I just wanted to talk about some of the stuff that I've seen y'all talk about. I agree with you for the most part on like everything. I'm a stealth trans person from like a rural southern area, and so like I do think that reality supports trans rights and stuff, but I also think that like we sort of need to kind of meet people where they are. And I think we've broken away from the past legal framework that we have used in the US. I'm talking US only because that's where my education is the US legal system. So if y'all have examples from other countries, that'd be cool. But like we've broken away from the framework that we've used in the past to secure rights for all other marginalized groups over time. And we're sort of at least I don't feel like we're trying to force anything because I think that, you know, we hold these truths self-evident that everyone is created equally, right? But like in order to make that the law of the land, we need to kind of meet people where they are and embrace like incremental change and kind of like allow people to come towards us at their own pace that is comfortable for them.
So
I want to
what do you mean by
clarify.
that?
Y'all.
There's two different issues
Okay.
there. There's kind of like the legal issue, and then there's the kind of rhetorical part of how to persuade people. So I'm curious, like, if you think that the way that trans civil rights has been proceeding in the legal system is abnormal to what we've done, that's an interesting topic as well. I just feel like it's a little separate from the idea of meeting people where they are in terms of like how we speak to people, or like how we get them on our side or something. Like, so can you clarify a little bit there?
Okay, I'm speaking more on the legal framework side because I do agree with your distinction between the legal side and the rhetorical side, and I do think you know that some people are in the wrong on the rhetorical side, but those are individual actions from like person to person, and there's not really anything we can do as a whole to like you know police those interactions between people. So that's not really something that I think there's anything we can do about. We can discuss it if y'all want to, and you think there's like anything some kind of blind spot there that you think would help me, I don't know, understand
Well, I'd like you to
what
let me
the
know,
goal
like,
is.
what is the difference between the way that trans rights are being pursued legally versus other types of civil rights? If that's a difference that you see, can you lay out for me what the difference is?
Okay, so the basis of what I like, okay, the majority of where I would be arguing this from would be on the recent Supreme Court case that had to do with us being able to get our passports and all of that different type of stuff. So in that case, and there might have been another case that got rolled in with it, but Chase Strangio was like the lead attorney arguing on our side, you know, to try to get our rights and stuff like that. So in that particular case, do either of y'all, I don't know what your areas of like specialty are you, do either, or have either of y'all studied the law? Or y'all like, you're asking me, so I'm assuming you know that there are like different tests for different areas of rights within the law and things like that. And
Sure,
like
we both
different,
are like self-taught, I would say, on the legal stuff.
Yeah.
Just like a familiarity because we're trans, but not
okay,
like
okay.
any formal study.
Okay, so there are different criteria that are used to put different categories of people in the U.S. into different protected classes, right? And so the criteria for being part of those different protected classes is different. And so for the argument that we were in the past, okay, I'll go back and answer your actual question now. So in the past, we have worked within the legal framework of whatever is there in the courts currently in order to try to change the law. So like, for instance, when I'm black, by the way, when back when we were still slaves, the argument that we made was like, we're not property. The argument that we made was not, you need to go ahead and give us the right to vote and stuff like that. The very first argument is we are not property. And then we move forward from there. We make an inroad in the legal framework that we currently have, and then we begin to move forward from that point. And so I believe that that is not what we have done in the trans rights arena. We have gone from, like, we haven't taken, not necessarily what I would consider the proper steps, because obviously I loathe that we would have to take these steps, but these are the effective steps that we would have to take in order to get to where we want to be. So, like, for instance, in the recent court case, the current legal framework that we have is, in order to get the types of protections that we were arguing for in that case, we would have to make an argument that the condition that we have is immutable, right? And that argument isn't really based on our opinion, whether, you know, what our opinion of immutability is. It's based on the current legal framework in the United States of what immutability is. And the argument that we put forth...
I get where you're coming from. I disagree with taking this small of an incremental approach. Like, I definitely think, like, we can't shoot for the moon, like, all in one day, but there's an issue here with timing. And one of the big things with this is that this is a medical issue. And it affects people on a medical level through all stages of life, but it can be very time sensitive. And so a problem that I see, especially people with severe gender dysphoria without access to these phases of transition, we see high suicide rates. We see very, very poor complications medically and psychologically for people. And so, sure, you can make an argument that, you know, legally we need to take these smaller steps to be as effective in that way. But I think we maybe need to sacrifice some of that efficacy in that sense to properly advocate for medical care and reduce harm. I think we need to take a lot more of a medical approach to this than just how do we argue this legally. And I do agree, there's a lot of overlap here, and I'm not an attorney, but I just see a lot of issues with saying, oh yeah, we can sacrifice these trans people early on in this argument because we need it to be more effective later on. I cannot do that. And I will not advocate in that way.
I would also say, like,
Okay,
I'm not
yeah.
entirely sure.
Go ahead,
Sorry about the delay. I'm not entirely sure that we haven't taken an incremental approach to this. Like, first of all, I dispute the idea that we have to establish that this is an immutable trait, because we have very, very firmly established religious protections in this country, and that's not an immutable trait. So we could base some of our advocacy off of that. But in practical sense, even more so, the approach that we've taken, you know, at least in the last 20 years of my, you know, in my awareness of specifically advocating trans rights, is there are existing legal protections for sex discrimination, and that we have successfully argued at the Supreme Court level that trans people are experiencing sex discrimination because, and this works for gay people as well. Like, if you would fire a gay man for being married to a man, but you wouldn't fire a woman for being married to a man, then you've conducted sex discrimination by treating the two sexes differently by doing the same behavior. And similarly, we've argued successfully in the same case, I think it was, that if you would fire a trans woman for dressing as a woman, then that's sex discrimination, because you wouldn't fire a cis woman for dressing like a woman. So it's basically like, we already can use existing legal frameworks. And I don't think personally that it requires establishing that this is an immutable trait. And in fact, I think that would be much more difficult to prove than just the idea that you are doing sex discrimination. Like, we all agree people are born and they're assigned male or female. And so if you would treat someone differently because they're male and doing the same behavior as somebody who was born female, then, like, we've already established, and this Supreme Court has already agreed that that is sex discrimination.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you on that 100%. So for me, if I were to argue it in the Supreme Court, that is the stance that I would take. I agree 100% that it's just sex discrimination. We have a precedent-setting case in the past for the Supreme Court of just a butch woman. She wasn't even a lesbian. She was just a woman who dressed, how her boss didn't think she should based on her sex, and that established the precedent for this. So I agree with you, and that's what I would have argued. So basically, my problem is that the people who we have in the actual positions to make these arguments are not making the proper argument when they take this to the public or to the court or to the TV show or whoever. We have somebody who makes a very poor argument and an argument that they cannot support instead of a good argument that can be supported. But then if they do take this argument, this or argument to the court or to the court of public opinion, for instance, then they don't properly support the argument because they start bringing in things that they probably should not bring in to a discussion about this type of argument. Like, for instance, I'm sure that, do y'all want an example or do y'all want to say something?
Yeah, I want some examples because I think like there's a lot of talk about these people are doing it wrong, but I want to know exactly what you think they're doing wrong. Like, what's the meat of this?
Yeah. So the specific example that I brought up earlier about the recent case with Chase Strangio making the particular argument that he made, I'm going to tie that in together with another call that I saw on y'all's show I saw it the other day, but I think it was from like a month ago, where someone was saying, someone else who was trans called in and y'all had a nuanced discussion. And part of that was, well, these are the types of nuanced conversations that we can have within the community. Whereas when we're discussing this on the stage in front of cis people and things, these are not the types of things we need to bring up. And I agree with that. And so I think we should hold that same philosophy when we take this, for instance, to the court. And so that was what happened
I want to jump in for a second because I think earlier you mentioned that Chase Strangio was working on passports. I think the most recent thing he was doing was related to gender affirming care for minors.
That's what I'm
and
saying
that was
as well.
kind of the big case with him. So, yes,
yeah,
so that's
he made
the
the
argument
argument
he was working on.
The argument that was made, what I can see, was that he argued that not allowing trans minors to access the same medication that cisgender minors can receive is a violation of the Equal Protections Amendment, like the 14th Amendment, treating people the same way under the law aspect of it, basically. So, if you think that there's a passport case, I don't know which one you're talking about.
Okay, so I'm referring to a specific portion of the oral arguments for the case that I'm sorry, I should have come prepared with this specific case name so that you guys would know.
It's the United States versus Scrimetti.
Go ahead.
It's the United States versus Scrimetti.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the one that I'm talking about.
That's the healthcare one. Are you trying to talk about? Are you trying to talk about the passport one? Like, which case are you specifically wanting to
I'll
address?
give you the example from the oral arguments from. I'm pretty sure it's from Screddy. So basically, what came up in the oral arguments was the discussion of immutability because of the argument that we were making, and the justices were asking our side about whether or not our condition was immutable. And our side said, yes, the condition is immutable. And so then the justices, of course, began to ask more questions to interrogate that position. And so they started asking us about a lot of the basically like xenogenders and like non-binary different genders and stuff. I don't know. I'm a binary cis person, so I'm not super familiar with a lot of that stuff. But so they started asking about a lot of that stuff, and they got to I think it is gender fluid and bigender and stuff like that. And so they were asking, does a person who has this condition have the ability, if they were born one sex, to then later sometimes be a gender that aligns with their sex and sometimes be a gender that does not align with their sex? Our side answered that question, yes. I don't really know what the exact, like if that was the correct or incorrect answer to that question because I'm not one of those genders, so I don't really know how they feel. But so our side answered yes, and then the court was basically just like, okay, if that is the case, then it's not immutable because they have the condition one day and they don't have it the other day. Now, you all are going to disagree with that position of the court, and I also disagree with that position of the court because the person still holds their overarching, whether it is like bigender or gender fluid or whatever it is, the entire time. So I would still consider that to be immutable. But also, y'all know from like rhetoric rules and different things like that that you have to consider your audience when you make an argument. And I feel that we, knowing our audience on the Supreme Court, we should have come prepared with a better argument than that. We should have known that that was going to come up, and we should have had a way to refute that argument on the floor during the oral arguments. But obviously, oral arguments aren't the end all and be all of it, and I don't think that's necessarily like the only reason that
I think
case didn't.
you're talking a lot. And like, can we? I think we need to.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry, guys. Y'all go ahead
to address this together. But is your main point? Like, I kind of want to get to the meat of which part of the argument do you think was a problem? Instead of going through like all these points and just say in general, like this was not the way I would have handled it. Okay, what specific, and you're calling people here, we don't have any power over what those attorneys say in the courtroom.
No, I know.
What is the particular issue that we should take away from this discussion? Like, what is being argued incorrectly? What specific point can we address going forward? What do you think we should be doing better on?
I want to try to steelman it. So what I'm hearing basically is that if we were to acknowledge in this context that gender can be fluid, then that is conceding that being transgender is not an immutable trait. Is that like a good,
correct,
concise? Okay. So, I mean, I
correct,
guess I would have just argued like, okay, a bisexual person might be in a relationship with a man and then in 3 years be in a relationship with a woman. And that does not mean that their sexuality is not immutable. So I don't know, like maybe that was like a curveball that the arguments were not prepared in advance for. But yeah, I guess it's like, I just think it's tricky, I guess, to acknowledge that maybe sometimes people don't know that they're trans until much later and everything. Like I said, like, yeah, maybe the misstep here was to agree that it's an immutable trait at all, or that like you can have a belief about yourself in the same way that people have a belief in Sky Daddy, and that's still a protected case, or like still a protected trait or something. But yeah, I think we're constantly looking for ways to refine our arguments, whether that's before the Supreme Court or whether it's just here on our call-in show. And I think what I have come to understand personally is that when there is, if the entire machinery of government or the entire machinery of like the medical complex which is subject sometimes to political influence, like we see with the NHSs in various European countries as they roll back trans access to care, there's not like a lot that we can actually do. And I think that we do reach a certain point of futility with being like, well, we could have said this or we could have done that, when the conclusion was already written before we even had an opportunity to speak. I've seen it happen dozens of times across this country where person after person after person comes before like not the council, there's some word, the committees, like the committee that's making the decision about whether to pass this anti-trans law, and they hear all these heartfelt, earnest descriptions, and people are vulnerable, and then unilaterally every single person on the committee votes to pass the law. So it's like there's kind of at a certain point literally nothing we can do to change what's happening at that like churning gears level of anti-trans rhetoric across the country.
Okay, so some of what you said, Lux, I agree with you. Ben, you asked me a question when you finished earlier. Did you? I can't remember exactly what your question was. If you want to repeat it, so I can answer that and then respond to both of y'all, or y'all can interrupt me, or however you want to do it.
I don't know if the question is relevant anymore because we were just like, I think we got to the point of how we argue the whether or not gender fluidity is immutable. And yeah, I think that's. And if your point, Dom, is to say we could have phrased this thing better or we could have come more prepared for that argument, I'm not going to push too much on that. It was just your initial argument coming in here was that like we should be more incremental with our approach and not ask for too much essentially. And so that's where I had some pushback. It's like I guess my question is, how slow do you think we should go with this? Like what should we give up in this discussion to go as slow as you want? And I guess that's what my question is.
Okay, okay. And then earlier you mentioned something about sacrificing some people for some other people. So I don't think that we should do that. And it's not that I think that we should just go slower. It's that I think we should work within whatever like argument is going to be most effective at that time. So like right now, personally, I think that the best argument that we could make is the one that would solve the medical and insurance issue that you mentioned earlier, which is to make an argument that this is a medical condition that requires some type of medical care, even if that's just like mental health care, which is therapy, and then that people have access to healthcare. Obviously, having universal healthcare would be the number one thing to solve that. But, like,
I guess I don't understand.
laws,
Well, I guess I don't understand why we only have to use one argument at a time. Like I get like we use kind of one big argument for each of the cases you're going to go into, but as a community as a whole, like we have multiple cases going on at the same time. Why stick with just one particular thing? Like why should we just focus on this one medical thing that you're mentioning and not because these other things are all happening like these court cases aren't coming down one at a time. Like these are all happening pretty simultaneously. So
correct, I agree with you.
So are you saying we should stick with just one argument in total, or do you think we can have several different arguments that we make at the same time covering different avenues of this social issue?
So I definitely think that we can make more than one argument at the same time in discrete, different cases that we would bring. But I also think, like what I said in the beginning of the call, that just in general, we are trying to move things too fast. Like, Lux, when you spoke,
that's what I was
the most recent time.
Well, but that's what I was asking. Like, I was just asking, like, how much should we slow down? And then you just said, "Oh, we don't need." I'm not necessarily saying that we should slow down.
In every
just
arena.
Saying that we're going too fast.
How much we slow down is.
So these are. So which do you want us to slow down, or do you not want us to slow down? Like, I guess it seems
I think
conflicting.
In a lot of arenas we are going too fast. So just like you said, we're going to have these different arguments in different areas and stuff. And then people who are in the public eye, like activists and things like that, they're obviously arguing for multiple things at one time. They're not like a lawyer
right. So that's my
question
is what things in our current fight right now, what things then should we slow down on? What issues do you think we're going too fast on? And how much slower should we go on those things?
Right now, so obviously the first thing that I mentioned, making legal arguments past where we should be making them for any particular thing that we're arguing for at that time. And then like in the social arena, like I think we are pushing social acceptance a little bit too fast and not taking the time to let people get used to things.
What examples of social things are going too fast? Give me a solid example.
Okay, a specific example. The one that everybody always brings up is like the pronoun stuff, or like, I don't know, bathroom access stuff or locker room access stuff. And I mean, okay, sorry, I got confused because I'm watching the video. I thought you were about to talk.
Well, so you hint on bathroom access. Do you think do you think we should not be pushing for bathroom access? Do you see that as a slowdown issue in your mind?
I think we should be pushing for it, and I think that I don't think we need all the laws that the right wing is making. I think everything was totally fine when everybody just did whatever, made everybody themselves and everyone else comfortable and everything like that. But then I also think that like a lot of people are going sort of too far, and that is in like, okay, now I know you want specific examples. So
yeah,
like,
I do. Yeah.
Yes.
And this is part of why I called in. This is part of why I called in as well, because I probably have blind spots, and you guys are good at pointing those out to people in their logic. So if I do, I would like for you to point them out to me so that I can confront those and try to, if I'm wrong, I can change and stuff like that. But like, okay, I heard another conversation that y'all had with somebody about bathrooms and locker rooms and all that stuff a while back. I think everybody should use the bathroom or locker room or whatever that aligns with their gender identity. And just like y'all always say, just don't be dumb about it. Nobody's in there waving their genitals around and all this different stuff. And then, but I think the crux of what causes the issue in that arena is that we are saying that self-ID is the end-all and be-all of what someone's gender is. And I mean, ultimately it is, because the only way for us to know about it is to ask someone about it and stuff like that. But that's one of the things that we accept that because it's obvious reality to us. But for like the majority of cis people, they are just not yet ready at this point to accept that if we present it in that
So what
way,
are you willing
right?
to compromise, Dom? What are you willing to compromise on that? What are you suggesting we do?
What I suggest that we do is like, basically, when cis people make that stupid argument that they always make, well, what if somebody just pretends to be a woman and goes into the women's bathroom or whatever? Basically concede the point that, like, yes, a man could just say he is, because that's what they want and that's what they're getting at. And with self-ID, it's literally possible for a man to just say, yes, I have a good faith identity as a woman. I am a trans woman. I haven't done any whatever, blah, blah, blah yet. I
mean, usually,
whatever,
Dom,
transitioning
when I'm confronting that argument, the things that I bring up are that in a practical sense, trans people are assaulted in the bathroom more often than we assault people. So we are not going to knowingly put ourselves in a dangerous situation. There are plenty of trans women who use the men's room or avoid using public restrooms, period, so that they can avoid making people uncomfortable because it's physically unsafe for them. And my follow-up is, what in God's green earth is stopping a man from just saying he was born with a vagina? And he doesn't even have to dress up as a woman. Like, he could just walk in there and say, well, I'm supposed to be here. Trans men are supposed to use the female restroom. Therefore, I am where I'm supposed to be. So it's like, you can't rely on, like, there's like people who are going to have bad faith interpretations, or like who are going to enter the space in bad faith. And usually that's not going to be a trans person. Additionally, I will argue that assault or voyeurism, those things, harassment, those things are illegal anyway. And if it's illegal for a man to enter the women's restroom, if he was already intending to commit the crime of harassment or sexual assault, then there's not like a magical ward at the doorway that's going to stop him from breaking that law as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. But so the argument that I generally hear in response to that is that no one is doing that. No one's going to do that. And like, I agree that probably no one's going to do that.
There isn't evidence of it happening.
The argument that I would prefer that we use is just that person is not trans. Like, that's the argument that a cis person is making, that person is trans, and my argument would just be.
But
so
here's
then
the
that
issue
gets us
with
back
those
around
arguments,
to this
though,
self-ID
Dom.
thing.
The same issue with that is the same issue with why self-ID is the most important thing. Is because we have no way, at least no reasonable way, to prove whether or not somebody is or is not trans. And so I think I don't want to take an argument where I'm asserting that somebody else is or is not trans, because I don't know. And there isn't a way for me to know. And so even if somebody is trans and they do a bad thing, that doesn't mean that they're not trans. It doesn't mean that I know for sure they are or they aren't. And so I don't think that's the way to take this. We need to focus more on the specific actions of the people that are going into those bathrooms. And like Lux is saying, like, focus more on the fact that, is somebody going in to assault somebody? The assault is the problem. The identity of the person going into the bathroom isn't the problem. If they walk in and do their business and leave, I don't see any reason why we need to concede that particular point.
So I hear what you're saying, and like, I agree with you, but I don't think that like, a person who poses that question, right, their whole argument is that that having a trans bathroom law is going to keep this person out of the bathroom. And it's not, because the person is not trans. Like, even if we did have some reliable way of knowing whether or not people were trans, even if we did have bathroom police and things like that, it still wouldn't keep that person out of the bathroom.
Yeah, so we approach this argument. I don't think we need to like I just think your approach is unnecessary in that case because uh like ADHD getting in the way. But like we don't need to take that approach of this person's not trans, right? Because oh man,
Do you mind if I jump
hate
in?
it. Yeah, you jump in. My
Your
brain
brain
just
is
like
mixed up. It's
my
fine.
brain is buffering. Yeah.
It's cool. So Dom, I think, you're talking about like when a cis person makes this argument, here's where they're coming from. Honestly, Dom, when a cis person makes this argument, it's not a position that they logicked themselves into. They have an intuitive feeling that trans women are men and that men are inherently predatory and that men do scary things and that women have a right to be afraid of men and therefore women have a right to be afraid of trans women. So you're working with like so many layers of entrenched feelings based beliefs that, like I said earlier, like, yes, we do try to find different ways to make our arguments. And we do, we try to come up with new ways to say the same thing, or how do we hit this by a different angle, or how do we make people feel like their feelings are being heard while also countering them on the facts. But the problem is that people who have not logicked themselves into a position cannot necessarily be logicked out of it. So it's like, the things that make the most sense to me is more to say like, well, there has not been an epidemic of safety issues of people pretending to be trans and harming women in the bathrooms. And in fact, trans women are more likely to be assaulted in a bathroom, especially if they go into the men's bathroom. So like, if people's concern is the safety element, or if they're trying to make the argument that trans women are functionally men, then you're just gonna bash your head against the wall, because I really don't know that people can be moved if they're like, no, trans women are men. That's a fundamental belief. You can't change it forever and ever and ever. I have these arguments all the time. We occasionally shift people, but it's usually when they call in and they're like, my sibling is trans and I am struggling with their new pronouns or whatever. Like, how can they say that they're this when they're actually that? And we can appeal to their emotions. We can appeal to that humanity. So that's the angle that I think is actually effective in terms of like, how can you convince people like, okay, well, in reality, there's no safety issue for cis women. In reality, the issue is like a trans teenager in Minnesota. She went to the boys' bathroom, which is the one that conservatives think she should go to, and she got her jaw broken by a boy in the bathroom, right? Like, I just don't know. I think that we put a lot on ourselves to try to be exactly perfect with the way that we use our rhetoric, and that ultimately we're kind of beating ourselves up and giving ourselves a false sense of control that we don't actually have.
Okay, yeah, that's probably true.
Which, like, it makes sense, right? We want to believe that we can change things, and we can. It's just like, it's more going to be the tying it back to emotions and humanity versus like, I just don't think ceding ground, like, validate feelings is one thing. I hear you that men are scary. I hear you about that, and I agree. Even trans women have to be worried about men. Like, validating the feelings without validating the underlying belief that trans people are deceptive. Like, right, because that's what's getting tied in here, that men will deceptively claim to be women to enter the female spaces, because that is what a trans woman is to these people. A trans woman is a man lying to get access to the space.
Okay, I mean, I hear you, and I agree that that's probably an effective argument in a lot of contexts, and that I could employ it in some contexts. I will also say that the argument that I provided anecdotally has been pretty effective for me. I have a pretty high success rate on converting people on these types of beliefs. So I did just want to talk about the legal stuff and like what y'all thought about it and stuff. And then I also had, since I have y'all here, specifically Lux, since you're the one who's on the call today, I also had like a couple of other questions, because y'all should see in my stuff that I talked to the screener about that I'm like a binary trans person, and I would consider myself to be like a trans medicalist. And that's not because I think that like I'm better than anyone else or anything like that. I just think of it as a distinction. Like, I would consider myself a transsexual. I think of it just as a distinction, the same way that I would think of, like, you know, as a black person, we have like people of color. Then within that, we have like black people, you know, Hispanic people, so on and so forth. And it's just a distinction under the trans umbrella. Now that's like my position. But because that, number one, that's my position. I have my personal experience, which is pretty much all I have to go on, because I don't really know too many other trans people given like where I live and things like that. So if y'all have just like some information about, like, I don't know, I saw on a different call recently, Lux, that you use like it, they pronouns. I've only met one other person that uses it pronouns. I did try to discuss it with them, which was somewhat productive, but like from their perspective, they were having this conversation with like a cis man. So I'm sure that it wasn't as productive as it could have been if they knew that I was trans. We landed on using they pronouns when I talked to that person, because for me, it just feels very dehumanizing, not only like, not really based on any personal dehumanization that I've personally experienced, even though I have, of people referring to me with non-human terms, but like more like the historical context of a particular like group of people, like black people, for instance, who were thought of as non-human, like were Jewish people, for instance. Like, I just don't like the implication of owning like being dehumanized by the majority group. But like, maybe I just like don't understand it or something, and maybe you guys could help me or something.
Well, we don't have a lot of time left for this call because we do have a couple other callers, and I want to try to get some more of these people I see in the chat who are getting muted. I'm trying to get some of them to call in. But basically,
Okay.
I don't know if this may surprise you, but I also consider myself a non-binary transsexual. So, like, I can agree that there are some ways in which that term has utility, and that undergoing medical transition is a particular type of struggle that trans people go through. Some trans people don't go through that. It's like, so there's different, aspects of the community that I can agree it makes sense to label those things. Um, I don't come out front and center and say I'm a non-binary transsexual. It's mostly when it makes sense to come up in the conversation. But as far as reclaiming dehumanizing language, I mean, I think that lots of different groups do this. Like you are a black person, maybe you don't, but many black people have reclaimed the N-word. And, there is a difference between y'all saying it to each other versus a white person saying it to you. Just like with us, we can say we are queer. But when I hear one of those pastors say, these queers, I'm like, haha, I'm in danger. Like, I know that there's a difference in context there. But for me, it's kind of about, like, first of all, why is being non-human bad? Like, I'm sort of challenging the idea that maybe in a way that people could see as being adjacent to what a vegan argues, that like non-human animals have lives that matter just as much. And like the idea that via dehumanization, we otherize people and alienate ourselves from them in a way that allows us to treat them badly. I guess I'm sort of trying to challenge that on some level. And I'm also trying to take power out of it. Like, you can call me a freak, you can call me a T-slur, you can call me an F-slur, and I'm not saying you're welcome to, but I'm saying it's not going to harm me because I've already adopted those terms for myself. So, kind of to make a long story short, that's my approach on it. And also, its pronouns are so punk rock. So it's the fact that it's sort of confronting and punk rock and like in your face that made me like them in the first place.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense. And I really appreciate the argument that you made from like why it's being not human. I didn't think about it like that, because I agree that animals and even plants and anything that is alive is no less than what we are. I think of all of that stuff as people as well. We should respect it. We should, commune with the world and things. We come from the world and everything. So that actually does help and gives me a better perspective on that. So I really appreciate it. And I appreciate y'all's time and y'all talking to me and everything. So I hope y'all have a good day.
Yeah. Thanks, Dom. We appreciate you.
Thank you for your call. Bye.
Appreciate it. Y'all have a good one.
Listen, we have 2 streams going today. People don't know this maybe, but we usually have our horizontal stream, but Arden is magic and she figured out how to do the simultaneous thing. So we are also vertically live. And the vertical, we get into more people's algorithm that way. So So whether you're watching on horizontal or vertical, if you would really quick do me a favor and click the like button, or if you're watching it on your phone, double tap the screen and it'll like the stream. If you will click the share button and then copy the link, as far as YouTube is concerned, that counts as sharing the link. I'd love it if you posted it to your social media as well, but you don't have to. I see a bunch of people in our vertical stream chat who keep getting muted, who clearly have arguments that they want to make. You want to tell us, what like that you have a problem with what we believe, but we don't really allow debate in the comments here. We want people to call in. That's the reason why y'all keep getting muted. So if you want to if you have a comment for us, if you disagree with us, if you think our position is anti-science, or if you think it's absolutely ridiculous that people, transition, or that we identify as a gender besides what we were born as, we want you to call in. Like, I see some person just said that's a dude that thinks he's a girl. Call in, please. There are two genders. Call in, please. The number is 720-619-2288. And if you call in and you have a confrontational thing going on, you get priority. We'll take your call next. Yeah. We have people waiting who are asking advice and things like that. But if you call in and you say, I think these people are delusional, you will get to the literal top of the list. We will take you next. So yeah, we appreciate y'all being in the chat, but we would love it if you brought some of these conversations up to us so that we can actually hash it out, so that we can hear you and hear your arguments and tell you what we think. And if you're a little bit disrespectful, we will tolerate that.
Yes.
Can we do some promo?
Yes, let's do promo.
I was gonna do that.
Oh, we have LineCon this week. OMG.
Yeah. Yes.
Do you want me to do it, or do you guys got it just from this?
I know all the things.
Okay, hit it.
So on our Patreon, if you join for $15 a month, that basically gets you a ticket to our private event. It's a convention that we do online. Usually it's only once a month, but this month we have two. So on Friday, we have LineCon actually tomorrow at 5 p.m. Central Time for the $15 ticket. And we are going to be having Matt Dillahunty presenting on magic and skepticism. Each person gets a 20-minute talk, and then there's an hour-long Q&A with all three of those hosts afterwards. So we're having Matt Dillahunty. Sarah Leaving Faith has just recently joined our team. She's going to be talking about deconstruction and the nervous system. Fascinating topic. We have Eric from Skeptics and Scoundrels, who is talking about cults, what is and what isn't a cult. That's going to be tomorrow. And if you get your ticket and you go tomorrow, then you will also be able to join us on Saturday this weekend. It's going to be at 3 p.m. Central Time. And we will have Alyssa talking about sex in media. And Dr. Ben is going to be presenting How to Think Like a Doctor. And we'll have Seth Andrews talking about Jefferson's Jesus. That's patreon.com/calltheline to attend our LineCon event. Patreon is the best way to support the channel as far as if you want to see more growth, if you want to see us do more things. Something that we are really looking forward to doing is eventually having an in-person convention. So we do these little micro conventions once a month, but we would love to do a fully fleshed out event, ticketed event where you come in person and see our hosts and watch our panel shows and get to have those discussions and meet other people in the community as well. So support us on Patreon. It's the number one way to make sure LineCon in person is going to happen. So join us Friday and Saturday this weekend for all those wonderful talks. You can also join us at the $5 a month tier for the, you can see the event afterwards. So you won't be able to participate in the live Q&A, but you'll be able to watch the whole event after this weekend. So $15 a month for the live show, $5 a month for the after show.
That was a monologue. You had that prepared.
Listen, I produce all the shows, so I know the
so
things.
You hear it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, there's some other stuff that goes on this channel as well. So we talked about LineCon. There's also other shows, including the Sunday show with Matt and Paula Gia. And then after that, the Sunday show After Dark with Forrest Valkai and Godless Engineer. Then Skeptalk on Monday with Forrest and Erica, always.
It's our 8-hour show.
Great turnout for that one. Chewed Gum on Tuesday with Alyssa and To Be Determined, second host. And then the Hang Up on Wednesday with Matt and Thinker. And then TACIS right back here again with Riverboat Jack and Josie. So great week ahead of us. So be sure to not only be active in those chats, but also like, subscribe, turn on notifications, get those super chats in. All of that goes a super long way. So thank you everybody for being here and hanging out with us.
Yeah. Again, I still see y'all in the chat getting mad. You got things to say, just call in.
Yeah.
We'll talk to you for 10 or 20 minutes, we'll have the conversation. If you're respectful, we'll be respectful. We're not going to mute you unless you keep interrupting us. We're not going to hang up on you or call you names unless you're being an asshole. Call in 720-619-2288. And if you haven't hit the like button already, please do. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Do we want to do one more before we get into the poll? Looking at 11-4 maybe?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do it.
All right. Let's talk with Chris. Him from Virginia. You are live on the line with Dr. Ben and Lux. What would you like to talk about?
Hi. Well, that's the first time ever doing this. Like, I've been watching y'all content, like, on the line and Jovan. And yesterday I was in Jovan's stream, and people told me to come to this to talk about this. Because I don't really want to debate or anything. I just want to understand and, like, learn. Because I learned from my mom that my two brothers are actually transitioning, doing HRT. And my dad's a very big Republican, like MAGA. So they don't get a lot of support. And, like, I'm in Virginia and they're in New Jersey, and I haven't seen them for 5 years. And I kind of want to be like, how do I show them that, like, somebody in the family's there for them, kind of thing? That's really what I'm looking at.
Sure.
So, like, I know you, Luxander, you said you're non-binary, so you're transitioned. And I understand I called in this show because of that fact. And, like, I kind of want to pick your brain a little bit about, like, did you have somebody who was in your corner during all of this, like, uplifted you? Like, what should I do to be that person in their lives?
Yeah, I mean, I would say the most important thing is to just reaffirm that you love and care for them. And if you are able to provide ongoing support, honestly, you can do, if they're younger, sending them memes. If you see any trans affirming memes online, like I saw this one, and it's offensive, but it's funny. It's like she's talking about, like, oh, I met this guy who was like, if trans women aren't women, then why is every single one I meet an absolute bitch? And it's like, okay, it's like, it's a little spicy meme,
right.
A little gender affirming spice. And sometimes people send me trans memes that I've already seen 100 times, but I'm like, I appreciate that you were thinking about me. Yeah, just being a presence is important, and being like, even if you slip up, if you make a mistake with the pronouns or something, then just correct yourself and then keep it moving. I think is also really important, like not making it a big deal.
Yeah, I try not to. Like, it's actually my older sister and my younger sister. I'm the middle child, so it's kind of odd that it's like one up and one down kind of are transitioning relatively at the same time. And I, like, just happen to find the line and, like, just try to learn about all this stuff. So I've, like, kind of done, like, the research into, like, how medically it all occurs. And then, like, going through all of Jovan's and y'all stuff to understand that gender and sex are two different things. And to, like, accept these things, because obviously this is something I've thought about until it, like, happens relatively close to home. And so, like, just knowing my dad is, like, who he is, I don't, like, they have to be kind of miserable where they're at in life because of that, because they're trying to transition, but the family's not going to be there for them. And I'm, like, 6 hours away because, like, I was in the military. Now I'm over here in Virginia. So I'm trying to be the best brother I can be to them, I just kind of wanted to understand, like, what's the best thing I could do for them, even though I'm, like, so far away.
I mean, a weekend road trip might be good. Like, if you think that they might be upset in their current situation, then if you can offer them a weekend of, like, just, hey, let's road trip it. Let's go, do something for a few days and just kind of chill.
Right.
Yeah, and I think you can, definitely ask your siblings, like, if there's any specific ways that you can help them, especially if, I'm not sure your whole family situation, but if there's a family gathering and maybe they're not sure about, certain family members that they want to be open with or not open with. Probably asking them directly, like how you should approach those situations. One of the big no-nos is like outing somebody without their consent. So like if your siblings are not out to other relatives, definitely don't go behind their back and tell somebody else that they're transitioning. So if you want to know how do I treat this person at these social gatherings, you can ask them. And I think with a lot of these things, it's probably better if you just ask them, hey, how would you like me to handle this if somebody misgenders you? How would you like me to handle this? Like if we're in public as a family and you go into one bathroom, or like how, like if you're not sure how to handle that, they're probably going to be happy to let you know, hey, this is how I would like you to do this. And even if they tell you, hey, please use the incorrect pronouns for me around this person, that's okay. It is okay to misgender them if they told you that's what they want in that particular setting. So I think each person's going to be very different with kind of what they need and kind of what advocacy they want from other people. I think you're definitely on the right track as far as wanting to learn more about this and wanting to be there for them. So, yeah.
Trying to get it right is in and of itself really important.
Yeah, I just want to get it right because I feel like, because the majority of my family, like, they're Republican, MAGA, all this stuff. They don't believe in this kind of thing, and it's just like, just be open-minded. And I don't know who, like, because our family doesn't talk that much, and I kind of feel like they're even more isolated now because my mom happened to be the one who told me. And it's kind of like, I don't know why they wouldn't tell me, but they just, like, my mom happened to find out and tell me, and like secret kind of thing. So I'm going to take a road trip up there, like to have a vacation. My son's 2 years old, trying to meet his aunt now. And so I try to see we go from there, just like so that they have family that like cares about them. I know how hard that can be.
Yeah, you know? I think you're on the right track. I know it's hard to feel like you're hitting all the right bases and everything, but honestly, just like showing up, being present, being affirming, showing the love and reinforcing that that the person that they are hasn't really changed, that they're still your siblings, you still love them very much, and that you feel safe having your kid around them and everything. Because of all the negativity that trans people receive, just treating them like they're a normal part of your family is going to go much further than you think. Like, you want to make sure you're doing as much as you can, and really probably you don't need to do everything. You can just be a solid presence and say, hey, I love you and I accept you and I want you to be in my child's life, and that on its own is going to do a lot of work for you.
Right. Treat them like normal people, essentially.
Exactly.
Yes. Who they are.
You got it. Well, I think you're on the right track, Chris. Definitely let us know if you have any other kind of big questions that come up as you go about kind of your learning journey with this. But I definitely think you're on the right track, and ask your siblings if you have any specifics for them.
I will. I'll let y'all know in like a couple of weeks what happens, see what like how everything goes in my home with it. They're still my family. I don't understand like what the hang up is. Like, it's just who they are and who they want to be. Like, it has nothing to do with my life other than they're my family. So like it don't hurt you or help you,
Yeah.
They just are who they are.
Well, we appreciate your call, Chris, and good luck with taking a 2-year-old on a 6-hour road trip.
I've done it before. I drove to New York, so it'll be fun. Trust me.
All right. Yeah. Well, thanks. We appreciate
Thank you for your call. Take care.
All right. You too. Thank you.
Bye. All right.
One of the chat trolls called in. Yes.
Yeah. So we're going to take this one right now. Let's talk with Matthew, him from California. It's taking a sec. Matthew, you are live on the line with Dr. Ben and Lux. What would you like to talk about?
Hi, I called in because you said science supports trans ideology. I'm arguing against that solely because the science that you are quoting is infactual.
What science would that be?
So the science you're studying is probably the psychological science where I forget the person's name. I'll probably get called out for it, but it's the science where he took two children and raised one as a female and the other as a male. The thing is both of those. The thing is, in that study, both of those children ended up growing up and ultimately hated the tests and killed them, and either killed themselves later in life. But the thing we have to also analyze about psychological studies is that 75% of psychological research does not pass the scientific method. So the fact that that scientific experiment has never been tested again means that all we're basing off of this is science.
I want to just pause you for a second, Matthew. I'm just going to pause you because neither of us use that as our argument. So maybe you've seen somebody else use it, but neither of us do. When we are invoking the science on this, what we're looking at is over 100 years of basically trying out different treatments for trans people and finding that the most effective means of resolving the distress that trans people experience is by administering usually cross-sex hormones and perhaps surgery. So what we're looking at is usually medical science and medical outcomes. Yeah, and Dr. Ben is a doctor, by the way.
Yeah,
you're talking to a doctor.
In the psychological study, I believe the one that a lot of people use is more so of a medical thing than strictly a psychological thing, right? Because a lot of the specific case that I think is similar to what you're talking about is the kid who had a botched circumcision and then was transitioned because they didn't have the technology then to, like, as they would say, it's easier to dig a hole than build a pole. So they ended up transitioning the kid surgically. And so this actually, it's not saying that that person is trans because they had the surgery. What that paper was saying is that gender dysphoria exists when you're forced to live in a gender that is different from the one that you identify as. So what that was showing was that this person who identified as male was forced to be was treated as female and was medically and surgically assigned female, and then that person had gender dysphoria. That is what that particular science was showing. But I would agree with Lux in that we are talking largely about medical science, and even with that, when we talk about psychology versus medicine or biology, the scientific method is actually very, very. It's the same scientific method. It's just the criteria for establishing a study, it has to be slightly different, because when we look at the brain, we have to measure it differently, because we don't exactly have, we can't open somebody's brain and say this is the part of their brain that makes them like the color blue, or like it's a lot more difficult to demonstrate that. So the way we demonstrate psychology is a lot more subjective. And that's not saying that subjectivity is inaccurate. There definitely are some more limitations with how you quantify something that is subjective. But
so
if you're,
let's interrupt here and move my argument into the medical space, since that's where we're going.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so if we are moving into the medical space, the issue with you basing it in the medical space and saying that, hey, treating transgender people with these hormones helps them. Well, the issue that we have now is that we also are starting to see long-term studies, such as multiple instances of assigned female at birth people that are transgender having hormones at 10 to 15 years having a higher risk of cancer due to treatments, along with
what's your source, Matthew?
Matthew,
what is your source on that? And what specific cancers are you talking about?
Sorry, I am currently driving at the moment. I cannot pull up sources at the moment.
No, but tell me.
If you
Sorry, Matthew. Because of safety reasons, we don't actually allow people who are on the phone and driving to call in. So if you arrive at your destination and you want to call back in a little bit,
I'm using earbuds and free of hand.
It's our company policy to prevent liability on our side. So if you want to call back in a little bit, we will be here for another couple hours. But we're gonna have to let you go for now.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Matthew. Yeah. Sorry. Didn't want to let that one go too much longer. If that's the case.
Yeah.
Now I get to stand. We got so many people in the chat. Y'all call in. If you're like, oh, what was this most recent one? Let's see. Gay, call in. Gay, nobody's born transgender. Becoming transgender is not a way of helping gender dysphoria. It just worsens it. We would love to talk to you. Dr. Ben is both trans and a medical doctor. And we would love to see your proof that transition makes gender dysphoria worse. That's
or if you want to tell
groundbreaking.
me that trans people are at higher risk of cancer because of
what the
HRT,
hell are you talking about?
Which doesn't even make sense, especially if people are talking about risk of like breast cancers or like
estrogen and progesterone are the ones that cause that.
Yeah, it's not testosterone, so it actually decreases your risk of a lot of those things. But I know we haven't gotten to the poll yet, but there is a caller in here that has to leave pretty quickly.
Oh, sure.
This should be fairly quick, but and then we'll get into that. Are you cool if we?
Yeah, we're good.
Do that real quick. All right, let's talk with Eleanor She/Her from Washington. It sounds like you got a little bit of beef with something that I said. You were live on the line with Dr. Ben and Lux. What would you like to talk about?
So, I don't actually remember whether it was Ben or Lux who said this. I'm sorry, but
no worries.
Pardon my voice. I got electrolysis 2 days ago. Everything's still swollen. One of you 2 weeks ago had said something to the effect of, as a throwaway comment in an argument you were making, that trans women dress like women, and totally irrespective to your larger point, I was sitting there silently screaming to myself, no, I'm not. Because at the time, I was wearing blue jeans, hiking boots, and a very large, chunky green plaid overshirt, as well as a long-sleeve Patagonia t-shirt that is probably, whatever. So I kind of wanted to chat about what gender roles and gender expectations might look like in a post-gender roles society. And this kind of bounces off of somewhat, I think it was Chris 2 calls ago said something about being a trans medicalist, but he just sees it as a neutral distinction rather than some sense of moral superiority or inferiority. And part of me wonders would it be reasonable to say that, I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this in a way that isn't offensive. Would it be reasonable to say that, I don't want to say societally induced, because that's so close to a dog whistle, and that's not what I'm going for. A sense of societal dysphoria, which I do know some people have. Would it be reasonable to say that that wouldn't be as much of a problem in a post-gender role society? I realize that people will do what they want to do in a post-gender society, in a society where sex and gender are completely decoupled. People will still transition. I understand that.
Yeah, I mean, my general approach to the, Star Trek future where you can freely change your body and nobody cares what you dress like, is there probably would be less social dysphoria. That's the term that I usually use for it, where, being misgendered or being squeezed into a gender role or whatever, those things obviously are not going to be as prevalent, but people are still going to experience some kind of body mismatch, and they'll want to, You know, at that point, we might even be in the cyberpunk transhumanist future where people are sort of changing things about their body willy-nilly, regardless of their gendered features. So yeah, I mean, like, I agree that, and like, I think that probably what either of us was trying to communicate by saying like trans women dress like women is that people try to use the language available to them to communicate who they are, and gender expression is one of those ways. Like, you know, you dress in a feminine manner, or like even like the way that the clothes fit on your body as a trans woman fits differently than they would on a man.
Yes.
So like, you're still wearing the clothes in a woman way. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think like if it was
very
me,
funny 'cause-
I think the reason I said that was it's like, if you are a woman, like however you dress is dressing like a woman, because like sure the clothes don't have gender, but you do, and so it's this idea that you don't have to perform being a woman. You don't have to go out and say like I have to wear this particular thing because it's for women. Like no, you are a woman. The things that you wear are what women wear, or at least what some women wear, because you're a woman wearing it. It's like if you're a woman, it's like I think, and this is just kind of a big like feminist point in general, because I'm seeing this with women surgeons and other women professionals that are saying like, yeah, I look like a surgeon, because people will use their femininity as a way to invalidate them, or say that you wear pink or you wear all these things, therefore like you don't look like a surgeon, you look like a woman. Say no, like I wear this and I'm a woman and I'm a surgeon, so I look like a surgeon. So I think that's what the actual statement was in reference to. So I was like, and you mentioned the clothes you were wearing at the time is like that does sound like woman clothes to me. Like if a woman wants to wear a baggy sweater and jeans, then that sounds like what a woman wears. So
also very PNW coded. Patagonia hiking boots. Yeah.
Hiking boots? Are you kidding me? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we got to the bottom of that particular thing.
I'm going to drop a bit of a big word here. I hear some feedback on your end, by the way. I think part of the problem here is, I completely forget who mentioned this, but someone said they think that effectively, like some beginner form of gender theory should be taught even down in elementary school. And I'm going to tentatively say I agree, because the way most people, the cultural cis heteronormativity that just gets by default imposed on everyone by the definition of that term, sort of constitutes a form of epistemicide against gender nonconforming individuals. And it's very tough to talk or think about this, because it's like kind of an emotional topic for obvious reasons. And I seem to have lost the thread of my remarks.
Yeah, I think we've hit on multiple topics since we've been here. But did we answer your question well about the previous statement, or did you have anything more related to that?
I did, but I don't remember what it is.
All right.
Well,
I know you have to
forget my ADHD meds.
Yeah. I know you had said that you have to go fairly quickly.
Yeah.
So how about you think about it a bit more, and then call us back next week if you have any other thoughts.
All right. Lovely talking to you. Thank you so much. Bye.
Yeah. Thanks,
Eleanor.
Bye.
Can we finally do the poll?
Yeah, we can do the poll.
We finally get to the poll.
I was hoping some of these people were going to be a bit more spicy.
Yeah, y'all present yourselves much more spicy in your screening information than you actually are. And it's like, we were like, oh, this one guy says he's a trans medicalist. Let's fucking go. And like, nope, 30 minutes of talking about how we hone our arguments better, which is not usually how I want to start the show. I still see people in chat. You sexual deviants are delusional. Get a reality check. James, nut up and call in 720-619-2288. And y'all who are just enjoying the show, hit the like button if you haven't already. We appreciate it. It's quick, it's easy, it's free. And we're getting to the point in the show where we should start thinking about those super chats. Super chats of $5 or more. We will read them at the end, and you can vote with your super chat. Hashtag Team Lux or hashtag Team Ben. No hashtag, no vote. Yeah. This was your idea, and I'm really curious what your thoughts are on it.
Oh, yeah. So this poll is, should trans men with gender marker change be automatically registered for the draft? And this came from like so many weird things I've been seeing on the internet, from people trying to clickbait this of trans people are automatically going to get registered for the draft, which like, okay, but registering for the draft doesn't mean you're getting drafted. And even if you are drafted, you still have to go through the medical screening process, and you still have to get cleared to go into the military. And as we all know, trans people are not allowed in the military at all right now. So even if you're on the draft, even if you're automatically registered for the draft, if you got pulled, you would not be eligible and you'd get the boot right away. I did see some people trying to panic about, oh, well, trans women are going to get automatically drafted, which, again, it's the same situation.
They're disqualified.
They are not eligible to serve, so they will not make it through. And even if, like, with the way the identification system is for being trans, if you showed up to, like, the first day, like, medical screening and you said, I have gender dysphoria, they probably won't even verify that. Like, they will say you're not qualified and you'll be sent home. So it's like, I mean, my answer to this is, should they be automatically registered for draft? No. But I mean, I don't think anybody should be registered for the draft. And especially if you're going to be automatically registered for anything, why can't we do that with voting? You're demonstrating that we have a system that can automatically register people for things. So why not register to vote? But I mean, and apart from that, I don't think this is super consequential, but I don't think they should be registered. I don't think anybody should be registered for the draft. Period.
Yeah, I agree. I don't really have a lot else to add on that specific point. I will say I just saw a really wholesome video. I think it was out of Thailand, because it's that like every male is registered for the draft by default there. And so it was just video. It was like a compilation of a bunch of incredibly beautiful women who were being like, they were going up and being automatically denied for the draft because they're women. It's like a rite of passage, I guess, for trans women there, where I think it was Thailand or Vietnam, one of the two. But it's like a ritualistic rite of passage for them where they, I guess it only is like functional for people who transitioned relatively young. I guess they have easier medical access at a younger age there. Because there were some incredibly stunning, like model-looking women in that video. So I think it's cute that, you can go through your little rite of passage of being denied from the military because you're a trans woman. So it's cute. Listen, Pro-Life Man says, hey, I wish both of you the best, but don't make the rest of the world conform to your sick, disgusting, twisted behaviors. That's not wishing me the best, but if you want to call in with that position, I'd be happy to take your call. We also had... Dutch Vanderlyn, who asked a question saying, why are you saying it's right for a second grader to be a trans person? I would love to answer that question. We don't allow those kinds of discussions in the chat because we want y'all to call in. So we have open lines right now, 720-619-2288. If you want to get in here and have a conversation about it. Yeah. And we just have go ahead.
The person who said that that trans people should not have the right to fight for this country. If you have that position, you should also call in.
Ben just got kicked out of the military for being trans, and he that's after the military made an investment into Ben's education. So they're just wasting his expertise. Yeah. It's really fucking stupid. But yeah, as we get closer to the end of the show, we're starting our super chat section in about an hour, and you can vote on which position the loser is going to have to defend. Hashtag Team Lux, hashtag Team Ben. Whoever gets the fewest votes has to defend a silly position. And the poll is in the chat right now. We're either going to have to defend the idea that non-bio men and women equals robots, open to interpretation, queer draft for drag troops, or only bisexuals get universal basic income. So I know which one I'm voting for. Get your votes in, get your super chats in, and we'll do that little fun segment at the very end of the show in about an hour and a half. But
yes. All right, let's get into some more calls. Any one of these speaking to you? Or we also could go in.
Yeah, let's do one just because she's been waiting for quite a while.
Okay. All right. Let's talk with Lilet in Washington. Pronouns are she, her. You are live on the line with Dr. Ben and Lux. What would you like to talk about?
Hi, thank you for taking my call. I guess I have wanting some advice or maybe reassurances about my roommate who known me before I transitioned and is not really doing my pronouns in my personal space. Out in the real world, it's very anxiety inducing whether or not he'll do them correctly. And I'm wondering how I can re-engage with that conversation because I have had it before a few times. And I think given my family situation right now, he's basically my family. And I fear in the future, if the relationship doesn't change, I would have to go no contact. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's a rough situation to be in. I'm guessing this is a relationship that you want to continue as much as possible.
Yeah, we help each other out so much. Like he uses the car to go to work, I help around the house and all this other things. And we've technically lived with each other 2 years prior before losing our house in there. And it's just strange of him because he has a trans son, but he has that old Gen X biases, if you know what I mean. And it's just hard that I don't want to lose that type of relationship where it seems more transactional than what my empathy in regards to him is like. But I know that in the future it's going to, if it doesn't like happen, it's going to go to no contact. And I'm real good at no contact, and I don't like that.
Yeah, it sounds like any decision you make is going to be difficult in this situation because, of course, you can't control the other person, but you can control what you contribute to the relationship. And so it's up to you if you want to have another conversation and see if you can um, get this person to change their mind. I mean, that would be the ideal situation. But if that doesn't happen, realistically, your options are to either, like you're saying, go no contact, or you could potentially decide that this is a relationship that is worth it to you, even if that person doesn't fully respect who you are, which is kind of like, to me, it sounds like a bit of a problematic relationship when like you're trying to maintain those ties and somebody clearly doesn't want to meet you where you're at. But it is your choice. If you would rather put up with the misgendering and continue that relationship, then that is all your choice. And you have every right to make that choice. I kind of have a similar thing with my family. My family has kind of, they don't misgender me to my face anymore. They've started degendering me, which is also equally problematic. But it's a case where I've kind of said, I can have some kind of a relationship with them for right now, and I don't necessarily desire to go no contact with them. But it's not the most positive relationship. It's not what I would want. It's not what I would choose to do for really anybody else. But I made that choice. I made that compromise for that relationship. And so you kind of have to pick one or the other if this person doesn't really respond in the way you're hoping.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Your story is like kind of how I feel a lot too, and then how you are able to come to terms with at least they're doing this. It's not as worse as it was before, kind of thing. I think.
And you can set up boundaries with this person, and you can say, hey, if like you could set your line, and if your line is certain words, certain phrases, like if you start calling me this, then I will go no contact. And you can kind of start easing into it that way. Or you could just say, you know, I don't want any misgendering at all. Like, I'm not going to be part of this. So you can kind of set that line with where you're comfortable and what you're willing to give up for that.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. One thing before I go. There's a book. It's called The Hampton Reader 2025. It has a chapter in there, chapter 12, Demanding to Be Trans Youth in Class Struggle. Lux, I think that you would really like it. I'm all down with that class consciousness, teaching that type of stuff. I have been doing exactly what you said earlier in the program today. It's like trying to teach about class consciousness, and that's what we need as workers. Thank you both. Bye.
Yeah, thank you for your call. Take care. All right. I think Lux had to stand up for a second, but we have Matthew back, so we're going to get him back on the line. Matthew, him from California. Once again, you are live on the Transatlantic Call-In Show. I guess we can continue our discussion. Do you want to kind of pick up from there?
Sure, I will continue on the last thing I said. Yes, HRT does increase specifically breast cancer.
So it does not do that. So what is your understanding of breast? What is your understanding? No, Matthew, what is your understanding of the mechanism of breast cancer? And do you know kind of different subtypes of breast cancer?
Not that highly educated about it, but I do have the article that yes, HRT has even though it's good for bone positivity and everything, if you are susceptible to breast cancer, it is a conversation you should have, as it does increase these reoccurring.
Matthew, that's different things there. You're saying that they should have a conversation with their doctor. Yes, they should. However,
because
the mechanism
increases the risk.
No, Matthew, HRT are different hormones, right? What hormones are primarily responsible for breast cancer? How does breast tissue proliferate?
Such as the hormone replacement therapy for breast cancer equaling
You're
estrogen.
Not listening,
this is one
Matthew.
Of the...
Yeah, so trans men who are more often higher risk of breast cancer just because of amount of breast tissue and undergoing an estrogen and progesterone-based puberty puts them at a higher risk before going on HRT. So when we talk about cancer is like uncontrollable cell growth and cell division, right? So you get way too many cells that are bypassing regulatory mechanisms, and then they grow out of control. They can spread through your bloodstream, through your lymphatic system, etc. So you have to have those controls go out, and you have to have some kind of input for those cells to grow. And in people with breast tissue, like anybody with breast tissue, estrogen is the main factor. And yes, you can have some progesterone dominant cancers, but oftentimes those two hormones are what cause breast tissue to proliferate. That's why you get breast growth in pregnancy, and you get milk let down at the end of your pregnancy. So testosterone does not have that same effect on breast tissue. It acts on other areas of the body. And so even though you want to claim that there's a higher risk of breast cancer, the mechanism does not line up. So
you lose
I'm not
breast
sure
tissue
where
on
you're getting
testosterone,
your,
actually.
Yeah, you get suppression of breast growth. And so reduction and so trans men are going to have a higher risk of breast cancer than cis men because of that initial estrogen input, and some genetic factors as well. but that's not the testosterone doing that. So we have to think about, when we're talking about risk factors, what specifically are contributing to those risk factors. And it seems like you have a misunderstanding of what cancer is, what breast cancer is, and what contributes to that. So what's your response to that?
Again, I see what you're saying, but also you're agreeing with me that yes, estrogen, an increase of estrogen, because if there is a male to female, they have to talk about this because you're inputting estrogen into the body.
So Matthew,
I want to clarify.
About...
Can I clarify really quick on that? So some risks of cancer do change when you undergo hormone therapy. But what happens when a trans woman takes estrogen, so she starts with a flat chest and she grows breasts, is that her risk of breast cancer rises to match the breast cancer risk of cisgender women. So technically it went up, but it went up to match the same risk that any other woman has. And interestingly also, the risk of prostate cancer plummets to basically zero. So it's, basically like their cancer risk matches the gender that their hormone profile matches. So they have the same prostate cancer risk as women. They have the same breast cancer risk as women. They have the same risks of cardiovascular disease as women. That's what hormones do.
Okay. So if you're still going to be locked in on this idea that science backs you, why does forensic science still go against you then?
Are you trying to bring up bones right now?
Citations.
Are you going to bring up bones and how in paleo archaeology, they actually frequently mess up the sex determination because they have to base their entire guess on what your gender is on the items you were buried with literally all the time. Like the entire field of archaeology goes off of the items that the person was buried with. And if they try to make determinations based on the bone shape, they are wrong. No, they're wrong. No, that's not how it works. You're trying to talk to me about science. You don't know anything. You don't know what you're talking about, Matthew. They do not go off of the bones because it's wrong most of the time when they do that. That's why they go off of the artifacts that the person was buried with.
Okay, so if we're going
What's
to
your
say
field?
that, then
you said you're about to go to work. What's your field? Why am I respecting your scientific opinion over the literal paleontologists and anthropologists that I talk to every week?
Okay. You don't have to respect my opinion. You still have to be able to concede the idea that we are gendering people based off of bone.
No, you're not. That's literally not how it works.
Matthew, I do not have to concede anything that you have not brought citations for in the first place. You haven't brought any data whatsoever for us to even discuss. You've brought up your own thoughts that you pulled out of your ass somewhere. So, do you have an educated opinion that we can discuss? Do you have citations for the things that you're saying? Or are you just going to keep talking like this and say that we just disagree with you to disagree with you?
I guess we'll never see eye to eye then.
I mean, because my opinion is based in scientific fact and your opinion is based in what you think scientific fact is. Literally, if you call on Monday next week, we have Skeptalk with Forrest and Erica. Erica is a paleoanthropologist, and she doesn't specifically study human remains because she studies like pre-human evolution. But she might be able to tell you a little bit about how we do determinations of gender when we're exhuming ancient cadavers. Like we cannot make accurate guesses based on the bones. In fact, like we had so many examples of ones where we thought we knew what the gender was, and then genetic testing became prevalent in the scientific fields, and we found out that we were wrong, like a huge percentage of the time. And that's just the fact of the matter, is that the science got more refined. So if you're basing your archaeological knowledge on literally 150 years ago, then yes, we made all of our gender determinations based on the bones, and then it turned out that we were wrong a huge percentage of the time.
All right.
Also, HRT changes your bone structure. Trans women's feet shrink, their hip bones get bigger. Like it literally, like people grow an inch or lose an inch in height. Like it changes your bone structure as well. So.
Guess I'll call back then Monday.
All right. Perfect.
All right. Maybe bring some citations next time.
Jesus.
All right. Yeah, that's a conversation.
I like missed the first part of you taking his call, and then I'm like, now I'm gonna be spicy. It's my only chance to be spicy today.
Right? Like Lux is out for blood
I
today.
am blood in the water. I hope we get some good calls. By the way, everybody, I'm gonna also be on with Jovan after this. So in like an hour and a half, when we wrap up here, we have Calling It Now on the Jimmy Snow channel. We're trying to do shows basically every day of the week now. So we'll do like Transatlantic followed by Calling It Now, and other days of the week we do Calling It Now followed by whatever show is that day. So don't forget to follow us on Jimmy Snow and The Line, the YouTube channel, to see our more politics oriented shows. Yeah, so I'm excited. Jovan's always fun.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Don't miss out on that. Um, ready
We
for
also
the
still have
next
open
one?
lines. We'll take another one. Someone just said XXXY in the chat. Would love to talk to you if you would call in 720-619-2288. Reality doesn't support it because it doesn't happen naturally. Trees grow in circles, not squares. Please call in. Trans people are super obnoxious too. This is why you're getting fucked up in public as you act like this. So you just made an argument that supports people getting assaulted for existing or their free speech of speaking out about their issues. So would love it if you would call in and defend your pro-assault position. 720-619-2288. I know you won't, but you should.
All right. Let's take the next one. Let's talk with Darwin, they, them from Ohio. Darwin, you are live on the line with Dr. Ben and Lux. Sounds like you want to talk about disclosure. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so in the past, I've participated in conversations about a situation where a trans person initiates a date with someone, and the question about that situation is whether or not the trans person should disclose their identity, and at what point they should do so, if at any point. Yeah, just wanted to hear your guys' thoughts about that. Forgive your guys' expression. That's an artifact of my raising.
No worries. Nobody's upset about it. I mean, Ben, you're ace. I don't know if you have much of an opinion about this.
I mean, I just about the kind of safety side, that not a lot of trans people, a lot of trans people do disclose, because I mean, I do have romantic relationships with people, and it's a thing where I don't want to spend time, especially not like intimate time, with somebody who doesn't respect my existence. And
Right.
I also don't want to be with someone who I'm incompatible with. So it's another reason,
Sure.
like, I'll tell people that I'm ace right away, because I don't want to be expected to have sex with that person.
Sure.
And I mean,
Right.
so
Yeah.
so I guess there's an interesting point of it, where is it an ought? I don't think it should be an ought. I don't
Sure.
think you should have to. Like, are we gonna what things are we gonna require people to disclose at the beginning of a date? Like, do you have to disclose like that you had a hysterectomy on your first date? Like, do you have to disclose that you can't have kids or don't want to have kids? Like, is that a first date conversation? Like, why is the burden? Why is the conversation so much on the burden of trans people and not on, why are we not so worried about other people disclosing certain things? Like, why is it such a fixation on trans people disclosing?
Sure. Well, the reason I called in with this particular question is earlier in the show there was talk about how trans people are viewed by certain groups as merely dishonest females or males that are trying to get access to certain spaces. So I was wondering if this is a perception, right? How would that affect the way you present in the situation with disclosure or not? And the reason I wanted to ask this question was to highlight how any such non-disclosure would likely be due to either practicality or safety, and not dishonesty or malevolence. But I wanted to know just your guys' view on that.
I mean, I think that is maybe fair. Like maybe someone would go on a first date with someone and try to feel them out during the date, rather than disclosing explicitly. Like, does this person seem generally cool about topics in general? Like, can we talk about, Laverne Cox, let's talk about, are you a fan of Orange is the New Black or something? Like people can use other means like indirectly to feel that out. And yeah, if someone chooses not to disclose, like there might be, hypothetical trans person goes on a date, doesn't disclose, finds out during the date that the person is conservative on maybe even some other issue, and then they decide not to have a second date. So they didn't disclose and they didn't continue to pursue the relationship. So yeah, I do think it's more often an issue of safety than it is anything else, really. I mean, yeah, you don't want somebody to find out afterwards. Like if you go and hook up with someone and they find out afterwards.
Right.
I mean, there are definitely stealth people who've had bottom surgery who've done that and have had no consequences from one-time hookups. And I don't think it's necessary to disclose to a one-time hookup per se, so long as, you're safe and using protection and all this kind of stuff.
What you don't know doesn't hurt you, I guess, is the...
It's, the only person who's going to disagree with me is a person who inherently believes that a trans woman is a man and that's gay, like regardless of whether she's had surgery. And I don't respect that opinion. So, like, obviously I'm not going to agree with that person.
So, unless Dr. Ben has a hold to add to this.
He's looking at the chat right now.
I was like, yeah,
okay.
Lux said it wanted to take more of this call, and I was like, cool. I gave kind of my piece, but
yeah.
Okay. So the spicy angle on this question is the way the hypothetical always seemed to play out in these conversations amongst the circles I happened to be a part of at the time was, the date goes, for lack of better terms, the trans person passes, and then sort of intimate actions are beginning to unfold. At what point would the trans person be, sort of culpable for putting a person in a sort of awkward position of being, exposed to something that they don't necessarily want to be exposed to?
I mean, like, are we talking like a legal culpability? Or are we asking about a moral and ethical position?
No, I'm just talking like so trans people have a lot of considerations in dating. I was just talking about it with my partner, and the conclusion that we came to was essentially, well, if you want to be a trans person and date, you essentially just have to deal with some level of risk. But I was just wondering of the other party, like, is there a scenario in where disclosure becomes immoral, or non-disclosure becomes immoral? Like at the point where clothes are being removed and what is in the pants is seen.
This just sounds like there's bad communication leading up to this. Like, this is just something I notice with straight people and straight culture, this idea that you're just going to assume everything going forward, and then you don't actually talk about if you're compatible sexually or not. Like, maybe this is a hint that you should be talking before you get in the bedroom. I don't know.
From like a sex positive perspective, I went to a panel talk one time that had a great, one of the presenters had this great concept. There's pants on conversations and pants off conversations. Like, you don't have the condom conversation when the pants are off. You have that conversation before the pants come off, so that you're on the same page about, like, we are going to use protection. There will be no genital contact without protection, whatever. So like in my personal opinion might differ from someone else. Like, okay, if a person is stealth, if they have transitioned and they've had bottom surgery and there's nothing about them that even remotely appears to be like they're assigned sex at birth, and they don't want to acknowledge that they're trans, they've fully assimilated, Do I think that person is required to disclose their transgender status, especially to like a first time hookup? No, I don't really think that's fair. To say that like your entire life has to be defined by this thing that you've put behind you 20 years ago. Obviously, if there's like different genitals than the person is going to be expecting, then that's a pants-on conversation.
That's what I'm talking
like
about.
for sure.
Sorry, what?
I think that if you're like a person who is, you appear fully as the gender you want to appear as, but you do not have the genitals that go along with that, I think that's a pants-on conversation and there's so many things that go into this, Darwin, like trans women, by and large, don't want you to interact with their penis the way that a man wants you to interact with his penis. So pants-on conversations are like, I want you to touch it like this, or don't touch it at all. Like there's like conversations that you want to have about your preferences before you get naked with somebody.
Sure. Okay, so I guess what you're saying is that the hypothetical is unrealistic, and so therefore you want to engage with it.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, like, okay, are you asking like the hypothetical situation is the person just decides not to say anything and then they've pulled their pants down and there's like surprise? Like, is that what we're going with that hypothetical?
So I appreciate the comedic foil, but the situation that I'm describing is a person is acting in accordance with non-disclosure because it's not immoral and there's no reason for them to disclose. By that logic, I'm just going forward with, there's no reason I should disclose. I shouldn't have to be defined by this aspect of my life. I should just be able to proceed as normal, I suppose. And so in that situation, I'm just trying to understand, like, if at that point there is some wrongdoing done by the trans person, or if it's just like a lack of communication skills and we wouldn't really morally flaw that.
Yeah, I wouldn't assign moral weight to that decision. And I think it's highly unlikely for that hypothetical to occur because a trans person is going to recognize that that is a really great way to get yourself murdered. Like, we've all heard horror stories, and even people who have been in ongoing relationships with trans people will still murder them to, make themselves seem macho and like, I'm not gay, whatever, Like, it's trans panic defense is a real thing. So, in an ideal world, I would love it if we didn't need to make those steps for disclosure. If you could just be like, yeah, whatever you've got in your pants, like, I'm down, I'm ready for it. If you're dating somebody who's pansexual, maybe you don't need to make that disclosure because you already know that person's going to be fine with whatever you have. But yeah, I would not put any kind of moral weight on it per se.
Okay. Well, and I'm seeing it. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, just because it just seems like a situation of you made an assumption in your head. That assumption did not play out when they took their clothes off, and now you're mad that somebody else didn't meet your expectations. It's like, would that be an issue with other parts of the body? Like, let's say you're a boob guy and they didn't disclose that they had a double mastectomy for cancer reasons, and then you get in the bedroom and suddenly you're not compatible because that person doesn't have breasts at all. Okay. And that was a deal breaker for you. Like, is that a moral thing? No. Sure. I wouldn't say so. Is it an incompatibility issue? Possibly. It could be a thing. Like, and I think it's okay if you say, I'm not interested in sexual activity with certain body parts or without certain body parts or whatever. Like, I think that's fine. It's just like, that's a point where maybe it was an undesirable consequence for you, but I don't think it was immoral on either part to make that assumption or have those expectations. Okay. So
I really appreciate that perspective and that particular framing of it, Dr. Ben, from the like emotional viewpoint of the hypothetical supposed victim, which is that they simply had expectations and now they're upset about those expectations not being met. I like that framing a lot. That helps me understand the situation and sort of put to rest this particular hypothetical. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Glad we could help. Thank you for your call.
Yeah, have a good one.
Later.
Yep, you as well. Bye.
Lines are closed, everybody. Lines are closed. If you want to talk to me, guess what? I'm going to be on with Jovan on Calling It Now at the in about an hour, I guess. So if you stick around and you want to call and talk to me specifically, I'll still be here. But for now, lines are closed here, and we're going to run through our last 4 calls before we get to super chats. Super chats of $5 or more will be read out at the end, and you can vote hashtag Team Lux or hashtag Team Ben. The loser has to defend a funny position. What are we getting here? Looks like only bisexuals get UBI is winning in the vertical chat. And how are we going to reconcile 2 different votes? Because non-bio men / women equals robots is winning in the horizontal chat. We'll figure that out.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh, no.
I don't know. Maybe the average of them?
We can average it out. That's fair.
We can do that.
So get those votes in.
Do you have any preference on the next call?
I think 31-2 was a chatter, so we might want to do that one.
All right, let's do it. We're going to talk with All Went Black, he, him from the USA. You are live on the line with Dr. Ben and Lux. What would you like to talk about?
Hello. So I was listening to you guys talk about your anthropological questions about bones, and that really was interesting. And I typed XXXY just because I would assume that if you're going to exhume a body, that you'd be able to check its, gender from XX or XY. But she made a comment that said that's completely false or incorrect. And I just wondered how it was incorrect.
Totally. I mean, I've got a spiel. First of all, XX and XY are not the only chromosomal configurations. Somebody could be XXY, they could be XO. There's I think 6 or 7 different configurations of sex chromosomes. Additionally, whether someone has a Y chromosome or it does not necessarily predict whether they're going to be male. Like the transposition of the SRY gene, you could have someone who is XX, but the SRY got moved off of a Y chromosome onto the X chromosome, so they could develop male but have XX chromosomes. And the same is true of the opposite. So we have actually several case studies of XY females giving birth to XY female children because the SRY gene, which is the thing that kind of kicks on the process for a body to become male, just isn't there, or the body doesn't respond to it in some way. So there's numerous different ways that someone could be intersex. So even if we just test the chromosomes, that's not really giving us enough information about who the person was and how they lived their lives, which is why archaeologists typically go off of the artifacts that the person was buried with to inform what kind of person they were, what position they had in society, and that kind of thing.
Okay. And now, is this, do you know any percentages of how often that even happens? Or, because it seems like it would be very, very minimal. And in most cases, you could judge. And again, this is just my ignorance, but I don't know. But it seems like, there would be a very, very, very minute possibility of those things happening. So in, extreme circumstances, sure. But in most circumstances, don't you think it's a little bit easier just to be able to give that justification?
Well,
Ben, do you have
the
the
problem here? I don't have the statistics for all of the conditions. I believe we're looking at a 1 to 2% for all of them. But I could be corrected. It's a good amount of people, because there's no way to officially know how many people have those conditions, because a lot of people, most people, don't get tested. So we don't have an actual accurate idea of the prevalence of these conditions, because we only test it if somebody is having some kind of medical condition that warrants the test. If in the case with the women, the XY women who had children, they got that because the child was having developmental issues with puberty. So that
Or
was the
people are
reason for that.
infertile, so they get tested because they can't conceive or something. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the most
Right.
common cause for that to happen. So I would push back and say, like, yeah, we could estimate that the majority of people that have XX are going to identify as women, and the majority of XY are going to identify as men. But the problem is when we're looking at individual bodies, individual people, people want to take those statistics and say that's how we're going to look at these individuals. And that's where we get into a big problem, because even though it's rare, you have to think about, could this person be that exception? And so it's better to take them on an individual basis and say, what am I actually working with in this moment? And what is reliably going to get me to the correct answer? And so a lot of times it's going to be a combination of all these factors. And so, sure, you could say that that chromosomes are a component of something you could look at to determine sex or gender. But that's why archaeologists use multiple variables to make that determination. So they have the scientific data, and that will include the chromosomes, bone structures, all that stuff. But like Lux was saying earlier, each of those individual criteria aren't reliable on their own. And so that's why we use multiple at the same time. And so even the same way with the social factors, there could be a lot of variability. Like, was that person assigned that way at birth? Or did they transition later in life? And those can all be clues as to what that society was like, what those people were doing in that time frame. But I think that's a much more accurate picture than just saying we're going to assign this person based on one set of biological criteria.
Yeah. Okay, cool. No, that's awesome. No, I appreciate, like I said, the knowledge, because yeah, I didn't know that, so that's good.
Cool. We appreciate your
Thank
question.
you for your guys' time.
Yeah, thanks for calling in.
Have a great day, guys. You guys are awesome.
Yeah,
Thanks. You
take
too.
care. Bye. That was so much nicer than
I know.
we were expecting. These chatters calling in.
I love it when people are like, I have a real question and you can answer it. And then they're just like, oh, okay. I didn't know that. Bye. Like, I don't know. There's something kind of wholesome about that.
Right? No, that's definitely really nice. Although I know Lux is itching for a fight.
It's not going to
with
happen.
one of these calls.
Later, maybe.
I don't think so.
Later, maybe. We'll see.
Next show. Yeah.
Yeah.
You just keep getting your pent up energy and you'll just save it for
Exactly.
for the next callers.
Like, my partner and I don't really fight anymore, even though we used to fight a lot. So now I got to get that out somewhere else.
Yeah.
Therapy. God.
Do we want to go down the list, or do you anything stand out to you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess like 33.4 is
do
interesting,
that.
but I'm okay with just going down the line, whatever you want to do.
We can take 33.4. I think there wasn't anybody on here that's been waiting like terribly long, so they're all roughly the same. So let's talk with Alex, him from Ohio. You are live on the line with Dr. Ben and Lux. What would you like to talk about?
Hello. First, can you guys hear me okay?
We can.
Yep.
Okay, awesome. How you guys doing today?
Doing all right.
Living the dream. How you doing?
Yeah.
I graduate college in 2 weeks, so I'm doing great.
Congrats. That's awesome.
Thank you. Okay, so I said this to the screener. I'm trying to gather my thoughts here. I don't need to clarify to you all that when someone undergoes, a medical transition, there are parts of, there are permanent structural changes that take place. So, like, for myself, I'm been on testosterone for 2 years, and so, like, the changes that took place to my vocal cords are permanent unless I, get surgery to alter that, which is not what I want. And so I was talking to the screener about, the language of transsexual versus transgender. And I'm 22, so the only word I've ever known for trans people is transgender. And I think one of the explanations that I was given as to why the word was changed from transsexual to transgender is that the updated understandings of the variance between sex and gender say that, well, you can't alter your sex. But to me, I get a little bit confused, I guess, in that if I'm altering, these, I guess, various sex characteristics and there's these permanent structural changes that are taking place, I guess how would it be inaccurate to categorize those as, alterations of sex? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally makes sense.
It's interesting because I originally heard that we stopped using transsexual because, first of all, that was a cisgender invented medicalized term that sexualized trans experience. So like homosexual and transsexual. So, and even sometimes still you'll have people who are like, who are transsexuals attracted to? Da, da, da. It's people are fucking stupid.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know what the exact reason is because I've never looked into it, but that's when I was coming up, and I'm 10 years older than you, so it would have been like 15 years ago that I was initially researching all this, and that was the conversation at the time. I do see utility in it somewhat, but I also see in the current day and age, and Dr. Ben, you've probably seen this as well, where sometimes people try to make themselves into like a I'm better than you category of like, yeah, well, I'm a transsexual. All of these transgenders, you just identify with whatever. And so there is like, it's still fraught to use the term, even if it's accurate. And I hate when certain trans people will call other trans people cissexual because they haven't transitioned. So it's like, while I think it's funny to call myself non-binary transsexual, I firmly reject the idea of putting cissexual as a label on other people. I think it's gross.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed, like when I began my transition, that there were various, I guess, older people of trans identities who identified with the term transsexual. And I mean, some of them just identify with that term because they're older and that's the term that was widely used when they were transitioning, and it, more accurately describes their experience and their identity. But I have definitely seen what you're talking about with like people using it to other, those of us who self-identify with the term transgender. And I did, try and answer this question myself. It's not like I'm the first people I'm going to ask are by, calling it on this show. So I guess like part of the reason that the word was changed as well was to move away from like purely like medical definitions of gender, and to be more inclusive of the fact that not every trans person wishes to undergo a medical transition. So
some of them also can't. And I think that that's something that's really important to note here, that when we create these hierarchies, we are also leaving people out who like, let's say somebody is already at risk of stroke because of their family history. You can't put that person on estrogen or testosterone. In some cases, testosterone can also increase the risk of stroke. So what? Like, is that person not real? Not really trans? And I think also it's important to note the things that we have in common. Like, even if somebody doesn't transition, they're still dealing with all of the social issues. They're still dealing with dysphoria. That's not directly involved with, or maybe they do have dysphoria and they just medically can't transition with hormones. So I think we're leaving a lot of people behind by creating those dichotomies.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So I guess like from like I don't know, I feel like saying from a biological perspective because people love to weaponize that word against us. I guess would it be accurate then to say that there are physiological alterations that can occur with someone's sex characteristics when they undergo a hormonal transition?
Yeah, and I would say that like with the most accuracy, yes, like medical transition, surgical transition does change sex characteristics, and in my scientific opinion would say that that does change your sex, at least like compared to somebody that has not undergone anything to modify sex characteristics. But I understand that that argument can get very dicey in the wrong spaces. I think that, like accuracy wise, yes, like transsexual would be the more accurate term. However, like Lux was saying, I think the weaponization of that term, using it as a transmed position, using it to be kind of a pick me, in the case of like Buck Angel, some of those arguments are incredibly problematic. And so I do see this, and I have this gut reaction when people use the term transsexual just because of that reason. And then you have people like Lux who are taking back the term to not make it have that meaning anymore. And so I think there's a lot of nuance to this position. And you could also make the point that trans people are not changing their gender. Their gender already was what it was, and they are just now openly identifying as that gender. So your gender is not really transitioning, your sex is transitioning. But I do think in argumentation and in society, it is better to go with the term transgender, like to make that point rather than try to argue all that nitty gritty with people. I do think it's a very interesting conversation, kind of like behind the doors, like not always out in the open, but it's like this is our philosophical discussion that we can have amongst trans people, amongst friends, in that sense.
Yeah, that really helps. And I guess I want to agree with you, which is that like I also, especially like earlier on in my transition, hearing, people like Buck Angel or, those who don't really, I guess in general, support the larger community. Like I too had that visceral reaction, and I think it led me to this point of like just questioning why certain people use that term. And, like you said, a lot of, maybe not a lot, but some of these people do unfairly use it to create a hierarchy or to other themselves and say, well, I'm not one of those transgenders. And so, yeah, I think, thank you for the perspective. That does really help. And I mean, even if there isn't like a, clear cut answer, I think it helps me to understand why the specificity of the language matters. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you, Alex.
Well,
thanks for calling.
That is all I had.
Yeah. Thanks for your call. Have a great day.
All right. You too.
Bye.
Bye.
We're just knocking them out today. Just boom, boom, boom.
All right. Want to go 29-1?
Yeah, let's go for it.
All right. Let's talk with Dustin, him from Kentucky. You are live on the line with Dr. Ben and Lux. What would you like to talk about?
Hey, I want to know where to go to find accurate sources for just everything having to do with transgender issues. Sorry, I've never called in before. I'm a bit nervous.
All good?
No problem.
Is there anything in particular that you were wanting to know about? Like children transitioning or like adults having access to medical care or like psychology versus medical approaches or anything specific? Or are you just like, that there's a lot that you should know and you're willing to kind of go any direction with it?
Really all of it. To let you know a bit where I'm coming from, I was raised, I don't know how much you know about independent fundamental baptism, that whole thing, but I was raised in that culture and only recently deconstructed. And part of that is getting rid of homophobia and transphobia. And I'm in a good spot right now. I fully accept everyone just as they are. I have no problem with it, but I'm still surrounded by just friends and family that haven't questioned what they've been taught and are still bigoted. And I want to be able to stand up to misinformation and bigotry where I see it. I just worry that I don't have the information I need in order to successfully argue the case. So, like, I want as much information as I can and where to find it on the psychology and effects of bigotry on trans people, as well as the medical care through all the stages, kids, teen, adults, all of that.
I know that there's a research doc that sometimes people post in the chat. I think our mod is not here right now, so I'm not sure how to get it. But I do know of a really well done article by Julia Serrano, and I can post a link to it in the chat. I can also tell you the title. She wrote an article that is a bunch of citations, basically. So she kind of explains, here's what this research is about, and it specifically refers to youth. So the article is Gender-Affirming Care for Trans Youth is Neither New Nor Experimental, a Timeline and Compilation of Studies. So she just, in 2023, she just went through a whole bunch of studies, like actual scientific evidence, supporting specifically the idea that gender-affirming care for trans youth is, it's not a brand new thing. It's not experimental. It's well established in the literature. And I'll go ahead and post a link to it in the chat as well. So that's where I would start. And then also our producer just posted in the chat a Reddit page that also, oh no, hold on. wrong link, not the Reddit page. But she's going to be posting from the Q&A line account a resource as well. So we've got a couple of different links as far as, there's so much reading you can do on this topic. So there is a Reddit link there that has a compilation of a lot of different research and studies and everything supporting a lot of these different topics that we're talking about.
Okay, that should help. I just don't know where to even start.
Totally. I understand. There's a lot to get into.
Yeah, that'll help.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll check those out.
Cool. All right. Yeah. And if you have any further questions, if there's anything that you're finding that you still are wanting some perspective on, or you want to dig deeper on, you're welcome to call back. I'm not going to be here next week, but Ben, you're going to be here next week, right?
I won't be here next week.
Neither of us are going to be here next week.
Neither
So you
of us
get a
are here
whole
next
new
week.
crowd of transgenders to ask questions next Thursday.
Yeah, it's Riverboat Jack and Josie are on next week.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Well, thank you very much. Check out those links.
Yep. Thanks, Dustin. We appreciate you.
Awesome.
All right. Yeah, have a good one.
You too.
You too. All right. Bye. All right. We're going to talk with Mia, she, they from England. Mia, you are live on the line with Dr. Ben and Lux. What would you like to talk about?
Hi, yeah. I'm struggling with my gender identity. Well, not with myself, it's more with coming out with other people. Like my dad, I'm 46 years old, and I've been struggling with this since I was a teenager. And I'm just come to terms with it now in the past year. And my family's very kind of black and white, bigoted view. And I'm just struggling on how to deal with this.
Sure. Are there any specific things that you're worried about getting pushback on? Like anything in particular that you want to make sure you are equipped to address the concerns when they come up to you?
Well, I want to know how to confront my dad with it and my family with it, and where I live, it's it's very conservative area, old hick village, you know. and I'm concerned about safety, how hormones are going to affect us. What I want to start my gender transition, but I'm worried in case this gender the gender transition will force me out before I'm ready, and I'm confronted with if my dad that will just disown us.
Yeah, that's a real consideration. Um, are you currently dependent on your dad or other family members for your shelter, food, safety, and all that right now?
No.
Okay, so that's
No,
an
but
important
yeah,
first step because I think I know it's easy for us to want to say that we want to transition as soon as possible. Sometimes waiting it out, like for that safety piece to be in place, is one of the most important things. So if you're
yeah,
not dependent on these people, then you can relax a little bit and have some more time to think about how you want to go forward with telling them. And it might be sooner, it might be later. Because as long as your safety is all in place, you got food, you got shelter, um, really, like those big things can't be taken away from you. I understand that the relationship piece may be a
yeah,
bit more nerve wracking of how is this person going to react? Am I going to be able to keep this relationship? And so I think you can take a few different routes with this, depending on who this person is, like how this person engages with conversation. I know for me, my approach was to kind of let them find out on their own and let them have to confront that before we have a conversation. So I actually intentionally made it pretty obvious that I was
yeah,
transitioning. Because that way, at least for my
yeah,
relationship with my family, they had to kind of deal with that, with those initial feelings on their own. They didn't have me there to take it out on. They had to process that. And then later on, when I felt like maybe they've had enough time, then I officially came out to them. And sure, they still had their opinions, but they weren't in that initial angry phase. Like they had time to think about how their responses were going to be. And it was definitely a lot more cordial of a discussion than it would have been if I just came out one day to them. And so you might
yeah,
have to think through that. Like, what do you expect this person's reaction to be? Kind of what's the ideal situation? What's the like worst case scenario with them responding? Um, and then more than likely the response is going to be somewhere in the middle. So even if they aren't approving and aren't an ally, maybe they will at least be willing to have a conversation. Maybe they'll be willing to ask some questions. Um, and so that's kind of how my approach has been. I don't know if Lux has a different experience with that.
I muted
Oh,
myself.
you're
I don't
muted.
talk to most
Yeah.
of my family, so I don't really have like a lot to give on that perspective of it. I can give like I would say practical advice in this situation. You're in England. It is going to take a while from your starting the medical process to actually getting hormones. So I would say, don't hesitate to get that process started since it's going to take a while. Especially if you're
Right.
in like a rural part of England. I don't know how it works
yeah,
with the gender clinics outside of London. Maybe there's more availability in the rural areas because there's fewer people trying to hit those clinics. But yeah, so getting that process started sooner than later. Also, uh, things start slower than you think when you start your medical transition, like especially with estrogen and the likelihood that they're going to put you on pills rather than like injections. It's going to be a pretty slow process, and your voice isn't going to change until you start training your voice, and you're not going to stop
yeah,
growing facial hair. So I think some of the
yeah,
changes are things that you'll be able to keep to yourself for quite a while. I think the most obvious one would be like breast development, but even then you can
yeah,
wear baggy clothes or use layering, or even I know some people who will temporarily wear a binder like the kind that trans men wear, just like while they're in that difficult process of like early transition and maybe they're not out at work yet or something. So there are things that you can hide. As far as how to come out, honestly, one of the best recommendations I can make for people is write a letter or an email, because then you're taking all of your feelings. You can take a lot of time to decide exactly how you want to say what you want to say, and then you can send it. And then that person has, on their own time, like Ben was saying, their ability to process their emotions without you being right there. Because if you tell them in person, I know sometimes it feels like we should tell people in person, but if you do it in person, there is a tendency to this immediate backlash or this immediate defensiveness that can make the whole process much more difficult for everybody and can cause rifts that last much longer than is necessary. So I would also recommend, if you have other family members that you think are likely to be more receptive, if you tell them and get them on your side and you say, hey, I'm really thinking like it's going to be a big deal. If I tell dad, it's going to be a problem. If dad doesn't have a bunch of people that he can get on his side where he's like, oh, I can't believe this, da-da-da-da-da. If there are other family members who are like, dad, chill, it's fine. It's not a big deal. It's going to be okay. Getting as many people on your side before you take that step with the most difficult family member could also be beneficial to like preventing there being as big of a blow up when you get to that most difficult person. Did we lose you, Mia? You still there? You might have to wake up your phone screen.
Oh, I think she dropped.
No! Okay, well, I hope she heard all of that.
Yeah.
Okay, well.
So sad.
Time for super chats.
Yeah. Just in time to get into super chats here. And you still got time to send in your super chats of $5 or more to vote for Team Lux or Team Ben. And I did see a lot of people who understand the costume I am wearing today. If you don't know, you should
Scrubs.
find out.
Yeah, totally.
It's Scrubs, yeah. It's a doctor uniform.
Okay,
Yeah.
give me a second because this is all different now. And
no worries.
I feel like it's gonna break. Oops. No, that's good. That's good. I just need to change the scoreboard and then do.
Man, at least I don't have to deal with all this shit when I'm producing. Like when I start doing vertical shows, at least I don't have like the scoreboard and everything.
Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay, here we go. This is the one. Okay, I think
we
good.
start
Now I just need
infecting
to
all of the
change
other shows with our competition.
Honestly, TACIS is the most complicated to produce, and adding in the vertical co-streaming has only made that 10 times worse. And the fact that co-streaming with vertical lacks the ability to have the same shortcut keys where I can just like hit a button and it does all the smooth transitions on its own when I do the work ahead of time. So, okay, I think we're ready. I think it's going to work. Okay.
All right. £5 for Mystic Mind Analysis. As a great DJ once said, life, it never die. Women are my favorite guy. So gender affirming. Hashtag planet of, I'm guessing that's bass, but my brain wants to say bass. I want it to be planet of bass. Hashtag trans humor. Hashtag team gendernt.
True. Thanks,
hashtag
Pip.
planet of bass.
Is gendernt? Does that go to Lux?
Is it? I don't know. I don't know if that's a vote. Is it a vote?
I don't know.
Pip, please advise. Was that a vote? Because of team gendernt is definitely, it would imply me, but I just assumed that it wasn't a vote. Please advise.
Can't tell.
Thank you for $5 from Joshua Everett, who says, Dr. Ben, have you been taught how to use the healing laser hands yet? Hashtag team Dr. Ben, hashtag team medical laser hands.
No. So that actually comes, so you know how they added the extra 20 hours of nutrition class for med school? They also added a Reiki class, and you get the laser hands during the Reiki class. So I have yet to go back to do my Reiki class before I can doctor again. But I still have to wear the uniform, so...
Good gracious. Pip confirms that was supposed to be a vote for me.
That's for Lux. Okay.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
5 Canadian from Mrs. Crocodile. Hashtag Team Ben for the outfit. Thank you.
Yeah.
I ordered this like last because the thing happened this week, and I was like, I cannot pass this up, especially since I saw people making the memes with Scrubs. They did it with Grey's Anatomy. They did it with The Pit. Like all that stuff went viral, and I was like, I cannot pass this up. So I like ordered this like the first one that would be here like in 1 day shipping, and that's where we're at now.
Nice. We're going to meander our way through these super chats as well, since we didn't get as many lengthy calls today. Those last ones we went through much faster than we were expecting. So we're just going to kind of languorously meander our way through these. $5 from Melatonin Ale, who says, hashtag Dr. Team Ben, because he blessed us with a new and improved doctor uniform. So in vogue. True.
It's not as comfy as it looks. I will say that. It's
it
really
looks
annoying.
Like it fits loose, but in a way that you keep wanting to adjust it, and not in a way that's actually comfortable.
Yeah, no, it's
definitely
probably
does not look
because it's so
comfortable.
cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
$10 from Miranda Rensberger. Don't capitulate to transphobic arguments to preserve the transphobe's comfort. And because I want to hear Dr. Jesus Ben Trump argue for something silly, hashtag Team Lux. Fair enough.
Thank you. Also, someone earlier asked if I hurt my thumb. I did. You know what I decided would be really fun is adding a little flavor to the stir fry while I was cutting up chicken thighs earlier this week. I thought that would just be a little fun, add some seasoning in there. I did not actually cut off the entire tip of my thumb, but I kind of got close. So it's fine. It's okay. I just kind of put it back down and put the bacitracin on it, and it's been keeping the pressure on. So I'm okay. But yes, I did hurt myself a little bit. Lesson learned, sharpen my knives, because I think I would be having a much easier time if I wasn't having to apply a bunch of force.
Probably.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you for $5 from Legally Mod, who says, I did my first 2 impact scenes, bottoming, obviously, on Saturday, and it was the closest I've ever felt to being cis. I learned a lot about myself. That's an interesting overlap. Congratulations, I think. Sounds fun.
$10 from Detroit Atheist Queen. Okay, hear me out. And yes, I'm biased. Mandisa Thomas or Cynthia McDonald on chewed gum. Hashtag Team Ben. That's up to the chewed gum hosts to decide who they're going to invite.
Yeah, I think we'd be super down to have them on chewed gum. Mandisa's been on chewed gum before. I don't think Cynthia has been, but the thing about chewed gum is it's one of the shows where it's less prone to having room for a guest host who's not a part of the Lions team. But I definitely think we'd all be happy to have Mandisa or Cynthia on.
Yeah. Thank you for $5 from Nico, who says, where are all these deviants these Muppets are talking to, and can we find out where they meet? Good question. It's really fun seeing the comments on the Vertical. So many people want to mauled in chat and won't call in.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Give Arden a raise, Jimmy. True.
No, for real, though, about them molding in chat. I mean, and the raise. I'll take the raise, too.
Yeah.
But, no, I can't tell you. I was super toxic in chat today against these people. I was calling them all kinds of names. I was being very hostile right back to them because they posting their 8th message in chat about how trans is mental illness. And I'm like, bro, call in. If we're so mentally ill, prove it. Make us look foolish. Everyone will be like, oh my God.
It should be easy.
I'm abandoning the trans rights movement because this guy just made such a solid argument. But you won't because you're fucking dumb.
You could be the thing that pushes me to detransition, Don't you want to be the one? Jeez.
Yeah, I mean, we are getting a lot more spice in the chat, at least, with this Vertical. So hopefully that'll start paying off more, too.
Yeah.
$5 from Duty and Courage. End the wars. No more drafts. If you can't get enough volunteers, you don't get to go to war. Hashtag Team Ben totally dressed like a doctor.
Yeah.
True. Yeah.
I do think, yeah, there's a difference between drafting during an offensive versus drafting during a defensive. And I think, you know, if you're trying to if you have to draft for an offensive, then maybe you don't have enough public support actually to do it. And if you have a defensive, you probably don't need a draft because people want to protect their homes. So either way, you kind of shouldn't need one, it seems.
Yeah, and this whole thing about didn't we just boot like a few thousand people from the military who were qualified to do their jobs and often in very specialized fields? So wait, do we have enough people that we can just boot trans people, or do we not have enough people? Like, make up your mind.
Truly.
Lux out here doing my job for me.
I know. I was like, she's not paying attention. It was just louder than I expected. The hang up sound was louder than I expected. Thank you for $10 from Arcane Goat. That's a solid name. Gonna go with hashtag Team Ben because of the doctor outfit today. True. It's true.
$5 from Joshua Everett. Dr. Ben is finally looking like a real doctor. I mean, he always sounded like a real doctor, but now he's got the doctor costume. Hashtag Team Dr. Ben. Yeah. It's not doctored. I am a doctor.
Exactly.
Yep.
Erica would be so mad right now. I specifically scheduled our extra long stream on 420 this month because I think it's going to be really funny with between chat and Forrest just absolutely torturing Erica with 420 puns. Like, I'm excited. It's going to be a fun one.
Yes.
$5 from Captain Alexia. Excellent name. The Bones Morty. You can tell from the Bones Morty. Hashtag Team Ben. I need to get back into Rick and Morty. I haven't watched it since like season 5, I want to say. My partner has been watching it recently, and I'm like, yeah, that does sound fun, actually. And we get to a certain point. They have a new season with no Justin Roiland, right? Like they've gotten to that point where they're publishing it, and they've gotten different voice actors. Maybe nobody here knows.
Idea.
Okay.
No clue. Sorry.
I know. I'm the D-Gen who still watches problematic adult cartoons. It's fine.
Listen, I fuck with Rick and Morty. I just haven't watched it in several years, so I'm not caught up on any of the tea.
That's fair. Fair enough.
$20 from Bobtail Trucker. Look, an actual doctor in robes, not pretending. Hashtag Dr. Ben. Yeah. I paid a lot of money for this costume. Through.
You earned it.
Yeah.
Thank you for $5 from Haley G, who says, I too am glad that Ben wore his official doctor uniform today. Hashtag Team Lux. You're the ultimate healer. Someone said you have to send your healing energy to me with my thumb.
With your thumb,
the rays.
Yes. Give me the... Give you the... I don't have the glowy hands yet. I need to work on that.
You got to step it up. Yeah, we got to get some... Ooh, I love how, humans... our skin and stuff are like thin enough that you can shine a light. Like if you have a strong enough flashlight, you can shine it through your hand. So we just have to hook up like a super powerful LED and find a way to make it not burn the shit out of the back of your hand when you light it up. Yeah. That would be fun. Thanks for $20. Thank you very much from Bobtail Trucker, who says, this is just to show support. Hashtag Lux, hashtag Dr. Ben. No vote.
Thank you for your
no
support.
Vote.
Yeah, support, but no vote. Okay.
How dare.
$5 from Beaker Squeakers. I thought Dr. Ben was gone for good, but he was risen from the grave for one last show. Hashtag praise him. Hashtag Team Mina the Floof Messiah.
Indeed. And with that, I'll go get the big fluffy lady and make her be Messiah on camera.
And yes, these puns are too much, but they're excellent.
We laid on Ben's leaving too thick because there have been like a few chatters who've been like, Ben's gone for good and he's never gonna return.
Yeah, I'm not leaving until the middle of June, and even then I'm still gonna come back for things. I just can't make the midday shows as easily. So
The baby.
Oh my gosh.
Hello, baby. Oh, what a good girl. She's so fluffy and so sweet.
so
She's so
cute.
sleepy.
She's like, "Why are you holding me, peasant? Put me down.
Yeah,
Let me go
pretty
sleep."
much.
The fury in her eyes. Okay, she's slow playing. she's chill now.
She's
Yeah.
happy. Yeah. She was like sleeping under a table, and I went and was like, "Hey, how you doing?" And she was like, "I'm actually going to get up and come over." And I'm like, "I hope that this hasn't ruined your trust in me, that you got up and came to see me and I picked you up." But she seems like she's doing okay. She doesn't
she's
hate
got the
it.
slow blinks now. She's
Yeah.
good.
She's
Her eyes
very
were a little
tolerant.
wired at first, but she looks like she's calming down now. Very cute.
Yeah.
What a baby. Okay, you can leave now. Good girl.
You can leave now.
Which is funny because what she's probably going to do is stretch and then lay down right there. Accurate predictions. Is this one for me or you?
I think it's you.
Okay, $5 from Ratboy Luloli, who says 98% accuracy with a 8 to 9% billion sample size is 160 million to 168 million people off color. True.
Mm-hmm.
I keep telling people
Yeah.
that. Like, yeah, even on the conservative estimates, this is still millions and millions of people. It's relevant. Someone says she loves the smell of blood on your finger. She has concernedly smelled my thumb a few times. Like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. And then she bites the shit out of me. I've got all kinds of little scratch marks and everything all over me.
$5 from Ratboy Luloli. Hashtag Team Lux. You'll get to be spicy later because the racists will call him with Jovan. Yikes.
That's true. We've had plenty of racist calls this week. I mean, we had a straight up 1350 the other day. I had Erica and Aaron on Monday. Rainwood called in. You remember Rainwood? And he was like, he straight up just did 1350. Like, why do 13% of the population commit 50% of the crimes? They're inherently more violent. And he was like, if you had a German Shepherd versus a Golden Retriever, which one would you be more scared of? Like, God, what a fucking idiot.
So stupid.
Crazy. Yeah.
He stopped being a
Me too.
theist, and I think now he just wants something to fight with the host about. So he's like, oh, I'll be racist to give them content. And it's like, no, we don't want your fucking content, Rainwood. Nobody needs that at all.
I think he's retired and like doesn't have any friends. It's like, why are you calling us? It's like you don't have anything else going on. Yeah. Thank you for 5 Canadian from Quantum Chaos, who says, Dr. Ben, glad to see you in your fanciest doctor garb, but where are your glowing doctor hands? See, we're already trying to troubleshoot this problem. No. Hashtag team whoever the producer gives the point to. Hashtag dealer's choice. Oh. That's a new one we haven't had before.
Make it a tighter race to give to Lux.
Yeah.
£5 from Barbara Barrett. Puberty blockers are reversible. Suicide is not. Hashtag Team Lux. Yeah, this is a true statement.
Yeah. Also, I'm going to plug it now before we lose too many more viewers, because, this is a point in the show where we start to lose viewers. But if you weren't here when we announced it earlier, we have LineCon this weekend. It's actually 2 LineCons. There's a Friday and a Saturday. $15 on the Patreon gets you a ticket to both events. Usually there's only one per month. $15 gets you a ticket to having 3 of our hosts give a 20-minute talk. This weekend on Friday is Matt Dillahunty, Sarah Leaving Faith, and Eric Skeptics and Scoundrels. And then on Saturday, Alyssa, Dr. Ben, and Seth Andrews. Patreon.com/calltheline. Check out those event times and make sure you're there. Be there or be square, okay? Help us grow the line by having a recurring subscription that we can actually count on as far as income goes from month to month. Thanks.
Yeah, we have a goal of I think right now I don't know the exact number, but we're trying to get up to 2,000 paid patrons. Mm-hmm. We're a little less than half the way maybe, or something around there.
Yeah.
And once we get there, we're planning on finally doing an in-person LineCon, but we really need a stable, pretty significant increase in what we're bringing in to be able to reliably produce something like that. That could be safe and fun and exciting for everyone to show up for. So yeah, if you're man, I really want to have that LineCon in person that we've talked about for years and years and years.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way.
The number one way to make it happen. Yeah, if you're ooh, I want to meet these people. I want to find out how tall Lux is in real life. You got to go. I don't even know if I would go. But you know what? I'm definitely, it's going to be a lot easier for me to go if someone else pays for my rental car, and we can only pay for the flights and the rental cars if we have enough money it kind of stacked up to do that. Because right now, basically anything we do for the line is just coming out of Jimmy's pocket directly. So, yeah. I don't remember who's reading this one.
It should be me.
Okay.
1999 from Snardfluke Louise. Back in the 70s, transsexual was the word in my play Among Amazons based on my transition in San Francisco. Back then, I used it to reflect the times and alternately used transsexual. I'm expanding into a series now. Interesting.
Among Amazons sounds like a very fun title for a play.
Yeah.
I was gonna say a stream. Jesus fucking Christ, I'm brain poisoned.
Go forth with your creativity.
Yeah. Thank you for $5 from Aliashana Silverbow, who says, I got fired from NASA and honestly, I take all of the blame. It's kind of embarrassing, but I misheard it when they said lunch. Hashtag Team Lux, hashtag Team PNW. Yeah.
That was funny.
That's fun. For a second, I thought you were being serious because I did just see some serious posts about shout out to the trans women who had to leave their jobs at NASA because it's not safe for them to be in either Texas or Florida, but who were also part of making the Artemis 2 mission such a wonderful success, down to the second that they calculated when the splash was going to happen. So yeah, that's definitely, and that's the kind of thing that we think about when we're thinking about where we're going to have our convention. It can't be in Texas. Trans people can't be there.
Yeah.
It can't be in Texas. So yeah. Help us out by going to patreon.com/calltheline.
Yes. $5 from Bobtailed Trucker or more. Hashtag Team Lux. And the tables have turned.
How the
Lux
turntables?
Is now in the lead. We'll see what happens.
We'll see. Thank you for the $5 from Gary, who says, sorry for the hang up. My phone hung up the call when my screen blacked out. Good advice. Thank you. Hashtag Team Dr. Ben. Yeah, the web client is a little bit weird on the phone, so sorry. It's not something that we have a good solution for. I think we are kind of working on building our own independent call-in function, but obviously that kind of stuff takes time. So yeah, apologies for the fact that Call-In Studio hung up on you.
$10 from Bobtail Trucker. Honestly, what LGBTQIA plus person would fight a religious war under vague pretenses? Hashtag Team Dr. Ben. Yeah, I mean, in the community of trans people, there's still trans people in the military that have not yet been booted.
Really?
But yeah, there's a lot of people trying to fight. Like they're trying to stay in and fight the system, which good for them. But yeah, and I've read the stories of people and their whole thought process of everything going on. I think the majority of people are like, fuck this system. We don't want to be part of this military while they're doing this. There's still some that I think a lot of the people that still want to be in are doing so because that's their livelihood. That's what they've been doing this whole time. They don't see themselves doing anything else. I think it's more out of kind of desperation to hold on to that than it is to actually fight this particular war. And I think too, a lot of people that want to stay in are want to because of the principle of they don't want to be booted on those
they
terms,
shouldn't be booted because they're trans. It's fucking stupid. Yeah. And I mean, up until this, wasn't the military the single largest employer of trans people? So it's one of the best ways that a trans person who we are historically and largely underemployed, underhoused, so to have stable state income, to build expertise in a particular field, and it damages our national security to let go people who have given 19 years of service and are experts at what they do and are officers in the military. It was just a dumb fucking decision all around. And yeah, our national defense is more than just going to war for oil. There's more that goes into it than that. And we've compromised our security by doing this. So,
yep.
And that's what I have to say about that.
Did I already
Send
give a point
ice
for that one? I think so.
Yeah.
Also, we're gonna have to vamp. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
We're gonna have to run a little bit longer because Jovan is gonna be a little bit late. So yeah, we're gonna
send us a few
run
extra
this a little
super
late.
chats. You know,
Send us some
Yeah.
more super chats. Yeah. And you feel free to put your thoughtful super chats if it's something that we can bounce a conversation off of for a minute. That would be great. We appreciate you. Is this one for me?
I think it's me.
Okay.
$5 from SJL. Lux, I thought maybe you jammed your thumb. I did, and it took over 6 months to go away. Hashtag Ben Christ. Is Venus Christ. We got to get it right.
Venus Christ.
Venus Christ.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Nope. I tried to cut off my thumb. That's what happened.
Yeah. Have you tried not?
It really makes me want to put way more practice into I know what you're technically supposed to do with the cutting. You're supposed to put your hand like this. It just I was holding it and then I cut my thumb. And that's what the mistake that you make. You get your little fingertips involved. I did earlier too. I'm making a pot roast right now. So that's a really easy meal because you just kind of front load all of the work at the beginning of the day. But it does require chopping up a lot of vegetables. So we had a fun experience of figuring out how to chop vegetables without using the thumb. Holding things and cutting and because I don't want to get my Band-Aid all messed up. Yeah, it was a fun experience. Since we have to vamp and kill time, when I was a young warthog, my dad had a friend over who she had no thumbs. And I remember watching her drink her beer and hold it like this. And my little 6-year-old brain was like, wow. The ingenuity of that for some reason. And just watching her do stuff without her thumbs was really cool. I don't know if she was born without them or if they got removed somehow, but still got my little brain thinking.
I just love that, my instinct when someone has a medical question is just, have you tried not doing that?
Have you tried not? Yeah. That classic doctor joke.
Yeah, it's because people want your time, and it's they ask you a complex thing about their medical history, and they don't understand how much effort it takes to actually answer those questions.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, it's are you gonna pay me for that time, or are you just and how much liability am I taking for this response that I give you? So it's you're gonna get a canned response.
From just some random person asking you medical advice? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and people do that on the internet too, and it's I've never met you. I don't know who you are at all. Why ask me? Let's stop.
Yeah. Let me just lay out my entire medical history to you, a person who is functionally a stranger, who has not entered into the contract of privacy that you enter when you become someone's actual doctor.
And I'm not even in that specialty most of the time. I'm going into kidneys. Leave me alone. You don't want my opinion.
Yeah. Please tell me about my herniated disc. That has nothing to do with me. Is this one for me?
This one's you.
$4.99 from Bramley. Thank you. Says sad vote for thumb or happy vote for Dr. Jesus. Welp. Hashtag team rock, paper, scissors. Let's go.
All right.
Okay, I'm ready.
Here we go.
Rock, paper, scissors,
shoot. Oh,
you win.
Me.
Yeah.
Finally.
We didn't scissors today, unfortunately. Yeah.
I know that's what they all wanted.
I know. It's what the people want. They cry.
Hold on, my beast is being unruly.
Puppy.
Let me get you another one real quick.
The beast.
Here.
Dorg.
Mm-hmm.
Dorg. $5 from Detroit Atheist Queen. On a serious note, I realize family are those who come in your life and make it better. It's not about blood. Hashtag Team Ben. Yeah, for real.
I'm sorry for immediately undermining your on a serious note. Because I hear things like come in your, and I'm like, just
your brain is still on the sex conversation.
Exactly. I'm in my middle school era, I'm just having a little flashback to when literally when I was in middle school, early high school, my friends and I would not say, can I come over to your house? Or can I come to your house or whatever? We would be like, when are you arriving to my house?
Yeah.
Or we replace it with this other term just to make sure we avoided saying the word come.
You said come.
Exactly. That's what happens when you're a bunch of trans masks who don't know yet,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
For sure.
It's possum energy for sure. That is trans mask energy. I love it.
Absolutely.
On vamping, if we're talking about possums, I don't know if y'all, I found a family of possums that lives under the walkway in front of my house. I saw one on top of our trellis the other night, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And then when I walked outside the other night, my dog darted to the corner of the walkway, and there was 2 little possum heads that went oop, and they slunked back down in. And so I put the camera up, and you could see them. They were so cute.
That's adorable.
That's awesome.
Very cute. Whose is this? I don't remember.
This is yours.
$5 from Joshua Everett. Your kitty cat is so heckin' cute. Adorable. Look at those big old ears. That's a kitten who's not done growing yet. Did anyone else catch Hegseth quoting the fictional Bible verse from Pulp Fiction as a prayer? Hashtag Team Dr.
Yes.
Ben. No, really?
I did catch that. Yes. He was like saying a prayer over the war and used that. It's like, okay, so you're using a fake Bible verse from a movie.
Wait, is this the titular like Samuel Jackson quote?
I believe so.
Fiction. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I walk through the valley of blah 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 whatever bullshit.
Yep. Yeah, that
Okay.
one.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Wow, that's very funny. This government is run by incompetent men. Terrible. Like I laugh, but also we cry.
$5 from Captain Alexia. Morty, just carbon date my bones and travel in time to when they were alive, Morty. Hashtag Team Ben.
True. True. I'm yawning so much, but I have so much energy. It's very contradictory.
Yeah.
Thank you, $5 from Ratboy Luloli, who says, for vamping, how did you both get into content creation? Also, does it count for another vote if I say hashtag Team Lux again? It, in fact, does count. How did you get into content creation, Ben?
I got into content creation because I was tired of people saying that you're born, that everyone is born female, or that everyone is female, and then like whatever argument that is. I got tired of people making stupid biological arguments about gender, sex, and trans people, and so then I started my channel. I was mostly before that I was a lurker and more than a lurker. I was very active in Arden's Twitch chat.
Oh, nice.
I
must have been a while ago.
Ben, like I'm a talent discoverer.
Yeah, Arden discovered me.
Gave him the exposure.
Yeah.
I got into content creation because, I mean, when I started doing it regularly, it was basically that kind of stereotypical, like, I'm starting hormones. Let me do a vlog every couple of months about it. Before that, I had made a couple of videos about, like, you shouldn't equate atheism with mental illness and other stuff like that, like super duper long time ago stuff. But yeah, as far as when I started regularly posting, it was like, yeah, I am hitting at the transition from a non-binary perspective. And then that kind of grew into doing more educational content and like, what's the difference between bisexual versus pansexual, as well as like just occasional vlogs. All of that vlog stuff is deleted now. Sorry. A lot of my old videos are not available anymore, actually. So, and then of course that turns into talking about the news and more topical, and then joining the line. So that's kind of the like short story version of how we got to where we are now. And I am tired of it now. I'm not tired of the line. I'm tired of producing on my own thing. Did we read that one, or did we just skip one?
Yeah, that was the how to get into content.
Okay.
Oh, no, but we didn't read the one about
You skipped one.
I thought there was another one. Yeah, I thought there was Green Garbador had one.
Green Garbo.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
There you go.
That one.
There we go.
Yeah, we did not read that one yet. $5 from Green Garbador. If each host of TACIS had a D&D class, which classes would they be? Hashtag team whoever is losing.
Thanks. I appreciate that. Each host of I mean, we can speak for ourselves pretty easily. Like, I want to be I'm a druid, and specifically, I know that it's not technically part of 5e, but like a Circle of Spores druid. It's like the creepy death kind of druid. What are you, Ben?
I want to be a bard, but I know realistically I'm a cleric. That's
okay. You're dressed for the part today.
I'm dressed like a cleric, but just it's the role of like that you're perpetually the healer and you will never be out of the role of the healer, no matter how much you try. Even if you're not a life cleric, you're still going to be assumed to be the healer. And so I'm a cleric, pretty
I
sure.
think Josie has said that she's a bard. I can't remember specifically, but I think that that's what she said.
Yeah.
She actively plays D&D, unlike myself. I've never asked Riverboat Jack what D&D class she would be, and I don't think I know her well enough to be able to make a prescriptive statement without asking her. So, what about Arden? Arden, you technically are a host of TACIS. What are you?
That's a good question. I kind of resonate with druids, I guess, a little bit as well. I don't know. I don't know if I can find where my personality fits in. I've also fucked with what do you call, like, a necromancer kind of type character.
Ooh, okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Death magic, that's fun. I don't know. Yeah, something like that.
Nice. Nice. Thank you for $20 from Saint Nilrem, who says, is it wrong to make a pro-trans argument with the premise that the, quote, gene expression of men and women can be likened to light switches, where some of them can be off or on randomly to get mismatched gender and body? Interesting. Not one that I've thought of before.
Yeah, I would need to think about this in some more detail. And I think some of the context, I would need some context.
Yeah, I mean, I know that there is. Sorry, we got to pick it up now. Jovan arrived. But I know that some people are like, there are brain pathways that we can observe that are different, and there's like lots of growing interest in the idea that it's about which hormones you get exposed to during brain development versus when your genitals or whatever are developing. Gene expression is an interesting way to take it that I would need to learn more about. Anyway.
$5 from Zeno Goyce. Stuck in Texas for a while, but can't wait for a live line show. Hashtag Team Lux. Hashtag Dragons Horde of Cats.
Only one. Starts with one. $5 from Mira Featherbender. Hello, says, if you tattoo a ruler on your finger, would you call it a digital scale? Haha. Hashtag always punny. Hashtag Team Dr. Venus.
Thank you for the vote. $10 from Domestic. Given the results of game theory, what are your thoughts on honesty versus not doing harm versus dishonesty, purposefully doing harm? Hashtag Team Lux.
I appreciate that you asked this question when we were like, yeah, let's spend some more time on their super chats. I don't actually know what game theory means. I've heard the phrase a lot, but I've never actually looked into what it means. I am typically on the side of like, like a good person is a person who could do harm but chooses not to. And that's about all I can say about that.
Game theory is like mathematical, like how to make decisions in a game or a situation when the outcomes result or like depend on like team decisions, so it's like the thing where it's like, oh, if nobody takes the dollar, everyone gets $10, but if somebody takes the dollar, nobody gets any money, that kind of thing.
Yeah, obviously cooperation maximizes output. So that's my opinion.
Yeah.
All right, that was the last one. Thank you guys for helping us get there. Cool. And I averaged out, and I'm pretty sure that non-biomen / women equal robots is our winning topic pretty narrowly, because it's actually only bisexuals get UBI is winning on the vertical, but the average of them both it's kicking ass on the horizontals. So this is also where this new format has made things so much more complicated, so I will need patience as I get this together.
I gotta think about this one too. Like, how am I gonna?
It's a hard one. It's a hard one. Oh, Fiona made a point that bards can heal.
Oh, there we go.
I still feel like
just about seducing everybody.
Though, yeah, I feel like by the principle, though, I'd still probably be a cleric.
Okay. Now if I do Nope. That's wrong. So wrong. Wow, what an idiot. Who would think that's the right button to hit? Okay, now if I do this. Okay, now the vertical can see the stage. Sorry, give me time. Okay, this will charge up the clock. Are we ready?
Ready.
Okay, charging up the clock in 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, everybody's always talking to me about trans people, and it's like, oh, you're either a biological man or a woman, and I'm like, okay, what does that mean? What does it mean? I guess the implication that we've all kind of gotten on board with is that if you're trans, then you're not a biological man or woman, and what's the option? Like what is a non-biological person? And the obvious answer is robots. Clearly, we're every trans person is actually a robot. We are fully cyborg. We're in android territory. Android 18 moment where you get wombs transplanted and stuff, whatever. But clearly, we're all we have eternal youth because we don't age. So there's that going for us. We all look like we're much younger than we actually are. Secret. That's because we're robots. We got all of our skin replaced. And furthermore, wait, I had a thought and now it's gone. Great. I love having ADHD. That's awesome. Anyway, so robots, we're fully in the transhumanist future, you guys. Transhumanism means using technology to change your body. And if you take that to its logical extreme, you obviously okay, you get like a little machine in your chest that makes your heart do things that it's supposed to do, or you get like a bionicle arm or something that can respond to your brain signals and the nerves in your arm and hand. So that's, more clear examples, okay? But also, medicine is a technology. If you take anxiety medication, you are using technology to change your biology, to change who you are as a person. So trans people, by that logic, by taking it to the logical end point, we are transhumanist because we are using the technology of hormones to change our bodies. Therefore, every trans person is a cyborg. We are all Android 15, and we are all robots. Non-bio men / women equals robots.
Excellent.
Amazing.
We are the ones taking over. We're taking over the world.
True. Cool.
Well, that is the show today. Be sure to go hang out in Calling It Now with Lux and Jovan. Don't miss that. Also, once again, don't miss LineCon this weekend. Both LineCons. Be sure to be there. It's going to be a blast.
Patreon.com/calltheline. $15 gets you a ticket to both of these events. Each person gives a 20-minute talk, and then there's an hour of Q&A afterwards. Thank you so much to our existing patrons whose names are scrolling by right now. Yeah, much love, everybody. Thanks.